of the tail of the dog, of the wife, of the son, of the old man of Borneo has just come to town.
Sing the flea, start from the flea. The flea
of the tail of the dog, of the wife, of the son, of the old man of Borneo has just come to town. Oh, the flea of the tail of the dog, of the wife, of the son, of the old man of Borneo has just come to town.
17 years is very important, and I'm happy to see you have chosen, first of all, also to be trained, because how you reason and how you interpret the information given in such a training impact the rest of your life. And this justice is what you realize, how do I deal with this sense of justice so that it becomes my springing point to becoming a leader, and a leader that has values, a leader that always give justice to the people, and a leader that is fair, and a leader that is rational. You must identify your fights so that you are able to analyze them, and you know this is what we are dealing with. And so it is very important when I see you eager and seeking to learn, because I know for sure that's what will separate you from the rest of the crowd.
Because at times we find that empowered women tend to have different ideologies with men who are not empowered. So I feel like we should empower both genders.
The way you treat the information that comes to you, you keep learning. And I've said, we also learn from the young people, because when we were young, the situation was different. You know, the reason why our generation, when they sometimes go to leadership, becomes a problem, is because we were coming from a position of lack. We think acquiring, you think you see this bond, you acquire, you decide, oh, I think this is green, I have a black one, I need a green one. You also take, yeah? You keep taking, because probably you had a thought process and a mindset that resources are never easily available. That is unlearning, a lot of unlearning that has to be done. That finally we are at a certain space in this country where then acquiring does not become very important to us. And that's why your generation must change that mindset, because you are not coming from where also we were coming from. You must change the mindset of you must acquire, and you don't care whether the other person is actually suffering because of your acquiring. You don't care whether the other person is feeling differentiated because of what you are doing. You don't care whether a generation will not have something. You go acquire somewhere where, for example, it's near to a river. You don't care whether the people downstream are going to benefit or lack food because of your action. So that particular mindset is what probably in your generation you need to change. And then because you have said, and I'm saying because I've interacted with young people, I love young people because I know they are the future of this country. You can see the mindset of a young person today is, number one, is able to ask all the questions, which we should continue asking all the questions that need to be asked. You also must have this sense of justice, and you really defend the justice that is even in our constitution, is also in our national anthem and all that. And then further to that, you must also try to see what are the areas that you need to learn from the old. Because you must mix your contemporary issues together with what the wisdom of age that has come over time. Because not all is lost, and not all that is bad for people who have been there, done that, they have experience, and they know. You must know how to mix those two. That's how then, as I start the training today, I want us to have a conversation. Even the issue of language, for example. The F word to the young people is very common, as we don't use those kind of words. I listen to X when people are even talking to the head of state. Really? That is how now you mix the old and the, you eliminate that what is not palatable, what is not acceptable in a civilized society. Yes, you are young, you are free to be able to ask any question, we interact, but then the decorum of it, that is one thing you have to learn. The decorum of making the your presentation, your word. I had, let me tell you, those I joined at one point. Everyone said, oh God, who is the mother of this one? So that's why I'm saying you must look at that's acceptable to me as another person. You are acceptable to somebody who is in her 70s and her 80s. That packaging is what we will, because we are not treating only young people, you are reading everybody. So the I'm not here. We really need to really reflect. Anyway, that was my introduction. As I've been introduced, with NMD, we have been able to train the Somaliland, and including the other day we trained the Electoral Commission of Somalia, and they are coming on Friday, by the way, to office also. We continue to having that. Thank you for opening the opportunity that side. And we have trained on the elections, and we are helping them to prepare for the elections, which is actually this year. So we continue to really support the African countries around us. In this September, we are hosting Sierra Leone to this country. This year we have hosted Nigeria, we have hosted Zimbabwe, which other one? Gambia, we have hosted Southern Sudan, Tanzania. The reason we are doing that is that we have, Kenya has a lot to give in terms of the space of political party management and also governance, and also election matters. And that's why we have become a benchmark. And that's why I'm very particular of the leaders that we are also bringing up. When Kenya speaks in regards to governance, African has spoken. And people believe that Kenya that they set the pace, others will follow. So let the pace that we are setting becomes a benchmark that can impact other countries in a positive way. So I work in that space. I've been working in that space for a period of I think 15 years now. Joined IBC in 2009, worked up to 2018, joined the Office of Registrar 2018, update. I don't know up to when, but I have another 2 years to work. I can finish the 2 year or exit before, depending on the circumstances and whether you get that opportunity. It's also very tiring, it's not easy to work, and especially when you want to work and have an impact and work with a sense of justice and work with a sense of value. Sometimes the conflict within the space really make you, sometimes you are fighting forces that you actually don't even know where they are coming from, especially when you want to do the right thing. Otherwise, we have tried to steer in the process of registration of political parties, which we shall briefly hear what our office does in the course of our training today. So thank you so much. It's nice to meet all of you as we start this conversation today. Today, we want to talk about Kenya political history and systems. Because I've told you, history is very important, and you must start from somewhere coming this way. And you must mix the old and the new, so that the bread becomes very important. And even us, we need to learn from you, so that we know what is current and what we can marry in terms of leadership, so that we are able also to govern people within a space where they are comfortable. The Office of Registrar has a staff of 120 there. 50% of them are below the age that fight, so they are youth. So we are largely a youth institution. So if I'm a leader of such an institution, you can imagine if I don't want to learn what is going on in the youth space, then I will not make the youth in my institution deliver. And I've said, and I'll say it again, youth are the most agile people when it comes to delivery of service. They are able to understand the issues, they are working in a different environment, and they are able, provided they have the discipline, they are able to do far much better than older people. They have the energy, They have a thought process that is different, it's current, and they're able to interact with the current issues. So when we talk about the youth and when we talk about the political history, I want you to go anchoring yourself. Where do I think I would be, and where do I think, which kind of a person would I be? Now learning from history, coming this way, because the struggles that we are doing today have a history also. Other people also struggled in their age, in that age of the youth. They also did their struggle, so that you also measure and size your struggle, and you're able to package it the way it's supposed to be as we move forward. Because a country always must be progressed by the young people. So what is happening currently is not that you think. Is that there were also other young people who actually, you are stepping on the shoulders of other young people of that generation that did quite a lot of work. So we are going to start a bit far, so that when you come to Kenyan history, you are going to see. Yeah? Let's go so that we tell them. We are going to talk about the colonial, the struggle for Africa, the African liberation, Kenya independence, so that you understand the Kenyan political history, the multi-party system, briefly touch the electoral systems that are there in a very brief way. Then we come to the role of the youth in independence, then political culture and ideology, and where you fit in as far as ideology, and then of course constitutional rights, the establishment of ORPP as one of the institutions that has to help us realize the political rights and the challenges, and of course encouraging you to participate in the governance process. Because as I start, this country is yours more than it is for the older people. If all natural system remain constant, the younger people live more than the older people. So you are going to be here more than the older people. That's why you must take responsibility of your of governance in this country in terms of really bringing the ideas of governance. I think we can go on. Africa before colonization, how was it? We had widespread flexibility in terms of movement and lifestyle. The content it is consisted of fluid and incorporated any outsider. If you remember, before colonialism, if you went to school, you remember that the movement, people told you the Bantu came from where? Walitoka wapi? They came from Congo, moved this way. Haya, with your community, wacha tuulize, wewe unakumbuka community yako, mlitoka wapi? Because you have the history. Wewe mlitoka wapi?
Middle East.
You came from Middle East?
Yeah.
Mkapitia wapi? Mkikuja kwa Kenya? Haya, nani mwingine anajua walitoka wapi? You're from which community? Haya, mlitoka Kongo mkapitia wapi? Yeah. Some came from Congo, others went through Ethiopia. Wakatembea wakakaa Ethiopia briefly, then they came, others came through Egypt, all of them came dropping. Both Nilotes, the Bantus, the Nilotes, and the Cushites. There's a way, the Cushites came, some of them came from the Middle East, coming down. So I don't know what was significant about Ethiopia, because majority of the communities passed through Ethiopia and then dropped, came to Kenya, settled differently. Even within Kenya, you can remember that there has been a lot of movement. Some of the movement actually was created by the colonial government. It's the one that came and moved people around. If you are a Maasai, you are pushed towards a particular direction. If you are Kikuyu, you are pushed towards. They actually came and did divide and rule. But some communities even coexisted before. For example, the Kikuyus and the Maasai. We even have people we call Gikuyu Kiagwashi. When we call them like that, because they actually coexisted, and they had intermarriages and all that, because communities coexisted, because they kept moving. So when before colonialization, we were fluid. We had customs. We had acceptable customs. We had made our systems, and our systems were working. And it was a place where the sense of obligation and solidarity went beyond the nuclear family. We knew how to do with our thieves. In our community, what happened in your thieves when a person was a thief? In some communities, they used to put him in a beehive. Then he rolled down the hill, because you are thief. You are not acceptable in a community. In some communities, you have to lose your 2 fingers to be marked that you actually are a thief. We had our systems on how to deal. We had our system on how to deal with infidelity. For example, in some customs, you pay goats. A lot of goats is quantified. There was a system of governance on how, if you err, this is what needs to be done. If you do this, this is what needs to be done. And we had a sense of responsibility that went beyond the nuclear family. Your family was not only your father and mother. In fact, we are even polygamous as Africans. So you had several wives and all that, and you became an obligation. There was an obligation even of your neighbors. Only recently, especially millennials and Gen Zs who are parents, that you cannot touch their children. In my time when I was growing up, any person who is the age of your mother was actually your mother. He will beat you on the street because you are doing the wrong thing. And he'll beat you and take you home. And when you arrive home, your mother will even beat you the more. Why? Because it was a sense of community responsibility. But these days, hata ukiwa mwalimu wa mtoto wa millennial au Gen Z, uko kwa shida. Unachuna mtoto, mama yake anakupigia, anakuja na panga. Hebu niambie response ya kuchunwa and response ya panga. Others will come with guns because they have guns. Yeah, because we have continually not now embraced community responsibility of a child. A child belonged to the community in the African setting. And you remember the many times that, and you could not, when I was growing up, me and probably the people who are nearer my age, we could not talk about the teacher negatively. It was unheard of. Indeed, the minute you mentioned the teacher did this, well, you don't know what you are saying. And the teachers also had a sense of high responsibility. Yes. So we were actually a community. So let's go on. So that was pre-colonial. National products were also not much of a concern. Before colonialism, due to the desire to live communally. People used to come, you set up a village here, and then the rest of the land was meant for you. You are grazing together, it's community land. For all communities, actually. So there was no need for boundaries. And there's no need of demarcating, this is my land. Today, you have people who have thousands and thousands of acres of land, and you have other Kenyans who have none. And that thousands and thousands of acres are lying idle. The other Kenyans who have nowhere even to build a shelter. That when boundaries came and ownership, and we are going to see how it is still the governance structure, and we can adopt. The reason why we are taking you through here, so that you have mindset of what can be dropped and what can be. Colonialism was not all bad, but African society was also not all bad. How do we marry the African governance and post-colonial governance that came along? Colonization too, brought many forms of government that are still visible today. The people who actually did colonization is Europe. Europe as a continent is the one that came. We are going to see how. Let's go on. The struggle for Africa. African map was obtained by Portuguese explorers. explorers walikuja wakasema they have discovered the what have they discovered? Lake Victoria, and called it what do they call it? Nyinyi mnasahau historia. Lake Sago, they called it Lake, African were calling it Lake Sago. So we knew Lake Victoria existed. We were calling it Lake Sago. But then somebody came and said, I've discovered Lake Victoria. I've just discovered the lake. Yeah? Then they named it Lake Victoria.
Mount Kenya.
And then Mount Kenya, it was called Kirinyaga. Then an explorer came and discovered a mountain. Then when he renamed it and called it Mount Kenya. And many other features that they said they discovered. In the process, those were Portuguese, the Vasco da Gamas of this world. They came and discovered, and of course discovered in quote, and they had esteemed before the 1500. Before the 1500, they came and discovered. And they said, we have now drawn the map of Africa. They carved out the map of Africa the way you usually see it. Of course, there was scanty information about the continent, and the Europeans were very mesmerized by the content of Africa, and they actually wanted to know what is this Africa. But according to them, it was not discovered. The struggle for Africa then took place during the new imperialism between 1881 and 1914. That's when they decided, let's now divide Africa. And several key events took place. Part of it is it started with a king, the king of Belgium. I don't remember the name of that king. A king,
Leopold.
Yes, that king. He decided, I want to go to Africa, I'm going to send explorers, I'm going to send everybody, and I want to take this. He landed in Congo, where kule mlitoka. Hapo mlitoka, aliwakuta hapo kwa msitu, hapo next. And this person called Henry really was eager to really start trading with Africa. He started planting trading stations along the river Congo, and they were trading together, and this king got interested. But unfortunately, all other countries in Europe also got interested, and they all started congregating and coming to Africa through Congo. We have the Spain, of course Portugal, we have Belgium, Germany, of course British, and all those countries. That's when, because now they were fighting who takes what. Can you imagine? You have discovered the people, you think that these people don't exist. You now start scrambling for their land, because now they want everything, and kila mtu anataka pahali. They went ahead and did the Berlin Conference, which now divided Africa. Wewe utachukua hii, enda ucolonize hawa, na wewe enda ucolonize hawa, wewe enda. Finally, Africa was divided, and we were all colonized, except Ethiopia. I don't know how, we need to, you know the history of Ethiopia. Ethiopia is the only country.
That doesn't have an independence.
And Liberia, yes, Ethiopia and Liberia. They are the only two countries that were never colonized. I think they had strong kingdom system that were able to resist the system to enter. I think they had a way of how they really pushed back the colonizers. So Africa is troubled. What was the reason for colonization? Of course, economic, political, and religious. Economic, because there was an economic depression at the time of that 1814. There was an economic depression in Europe, and cost of production was very high. So they decided, we are going to get cheap labor, and we shall get from Africa. So we shall make our production in Africa. The natural resources that we had, like minerals, like land where they can farm, like what else? Raw material. They had so many. They had fertile land. And the climate also contributed because we are in the tropics, they go through the cold season and all that. So for economic reasons they came. Then political, because the more powerful, the more colonies you had, the more powerful you felt at home. So that a colony becomes a sense of power. That you are powerful. You are powerful because you have been able to colonize as many countries. And of course, it's not only Africa. Europe colonized even South America. They went there and colonized. So they had so many colonies that they were bringing together. Even India was colonized. Yeah, they actually colonized everybody. And they now wanted to be the superpower of the world. So the more you had colonies, the better for you. And of course, religious reasons. Bali conference, I may not really, they had a conference of 14 European countries. The division of Africa was done in the absence of the Africans. And the conference took 3 months to divide Africa, but in their absence. Yeah, of course they said now the geometrical boundaries in the interior of the continent with regard to cultural, linguistic boundaries, or even already established native indigenous African population. They never regarded whatever was on the ground. While still, they could move people, and we are going to see that. After 3 months, it also resulted in a jumbled geometric boundary that divided Africa into 50 irregular countries. How many African countries do we have today?
54.
54. What? How many? 54. 54. Yeah, but at that particular time, they divided them into 50. The rest have gained independence later after subdividing. For example, the Southern Sudan, which are the one that have gained independence? Yo haijakubalika bado. Bado haijakubalika. So find out, we are going to find out what are the rest of them. You sit down, we find out which are the 4 countries came on board. Which one?
Swaziland.
Swaziland, yes, Swaziland is the second one. Swaziland is Southern Sudan. Yeah. Southern, no, the Southern was there originally. Yeah, Swaziland, look for the other 2. But this is where we came from. Then the colonial system was the machinery of administrative power established to facilitate control and exploitation of the colonized societies. They were authoritarian, bureaucratic system, partly due to the origins in the military, and of course they had a racist ideology. They came here and told us a white person is superior than a black person. And even our girls today still believe a white. Yeah, how they say, anapewa na mzungu. As if it's big news. Yeah, because in this generation, we should not be talking about superiority of the whites. Because in the Hamuja interaction about in the colonial whatever, our mothers did, as me and Bishop here, we never, of course Bishop is younger than I am, but we never interacted. Our mothers did interact, but we never. Nini sasa hiyo kasupa yenu inatoka wapi? Yeah. So we need to do that. If you want to be a leader in governance, you must first of all believe in yourself. Believe in the people that are around you. Africa has to believe in itself.
Yes.
In terms of leadership, we believe we can. And we are the people who are responsible of our own issues. This idea of thinking that because you have a different skin color, you are better than the other person is wrongly placed. And that is that is such of the battles that you really have to fight. Having equalized everybody. We are not saying they are lesser, we are also not Resa, we are all equal. Before the law and before God, sindio? Yeah, anawaza kuwa na hiyo kasuba ya kwamba you are equal, you are as good as anybody in this continent, in this group. If you do what is right and you put your effort, you really can deal with any situation, sindio?
Yes.
Of course, European countries were able to colonize. Why were they able to do that? Of course, native leaders, rivalry, and that's what usually happens even today. The rivalry between African leadership is what makes penetration of foreigners to come in and take the space that squarely belongs to us. What they used to do when they came, they will put a fight between these chiefs. Africa was divided. Every community here can assess that there were community leaders, either chiefs, or kings, or sometimes in some communities there were prophets. Whatever the name was called, they used to rule a particular area. So what the white people will do, they will come and put you in conflict with this other one. He put a conflict, and then he come and tell you, I am going to support you to fight her. I'll give you money, I'll give you weapon, I'll give you water, I'll give you. So finally you are fighting the two of you. Meanwhile, as you are fighting and they are aiming you, what are they doing? They are taking your resources. They are now establishing their government. They are actually now establishing themselves to really walk the journey of colonization. By the time this person is coming up, he has already supported them, because according to them, he has put a mindset. I supported you when you are in trouble, so you must support me to rule you and oppress this other one. And that's how colonialism was able to merge through the process, through the native leadership rivalry. Of course, natural disasters. You all remember in the 1890, sometime between 1890, the great hunger that hit Africa, around 1890, coming on the, for about 6 years. There was drought, and people died, animals died, and people were desperate even for food. For that, the Europeans were able to now come, and in the name of supporting the Africans, they were able also now to take all their resources. Of course, armored European powers, they were armored, and finally African weakened communities. Diseases like yellow fever came with the European. Africa never knew those foreign diseases. So when those diseases came, now they weakened African immunity. And then when you are weak and sick, now they bring their medicine. We used to have our own medicine. Now it becomes irrelevant. Our system now have been weakened. And by that, then we started having weaker people that are not able to fight because they are unaware. Those particular diseases have come on board. Of course, an democratic political system, that is what they used, of the militarism, large-scale movement of people. You remember people are moved into concentration camps. Large groups, you are moved from this group to the other, and they put you in concentration camps. Of course, adaptation of foreign religious beliefs. African has its own African tradition, religions, and we practice it differently depending on the different communities. Here come the Mzungu, on one side come with the Bible, and also on the other side come with a sword to control you. And then from the coast side came the Islam. Of course, they came trading. The Islam came trading from the coast side. The Arabs came with Islam as a religion, and then the mix between the two. And at one particular time, there come a fight now between the different religions, who is controlling what, in which area. And as people embraced Christianity and Islam, and you are told, part of it was geared towards making your mind think in a weak way. That you are not able to fight. A good Christian does not fight back. A great Christian, I'm talking in front of a bishop. And and I'm a good Christian also. Tukanwa unapeana the other side. Yeah? That was amplified. They never amplified the book of Samuel, where when they were fought, even them they fought. Wow. They fought back. They amplified what was supposed to oppress the thinking, so that they're able to control you at a particular time. They never give the whole gospel in full. That one I'll come to tell you how they never give it in full. But finally, the religious beliefs, they told you an Islam man should behave like this, an Islamic woman should behave like this, and for that reason you remain there, you don't answer back, because when you answer back, you are not a good religious person. Then finally, you were able to take some of the areas. Emergency over urbanization came in, and of course with the urbanization now, the conflict of living together became even amplified. Of course, stage of the public education system, and African had a system of education. How African you are sitting with your hand. A young man, before you even get circumcised or even get married, you have to have a sitting with your uncle, your younger father, how they used to call them, your brother's father. Na anakukalisa chini, anakuambia mtu akianza akioa, unaendaga hivi, upigi bibi kama unaua, unampiga ukimrudisha kwa nyumba. Sasa hii generation yenu hata hivi kupigana, inajua walk out. Kutoka au kuua. In the African society, it was unheard of that a man has killed a woman. Indeed, it was an abomination for you to kill or even hurt a woman. Sasa, if a man had to fight lazima apige bibi, alikuwa anachukua tutizi kama tule twa kupiga kuku. Napiga huko. That's what they used to do.
To embarrass them and to hurt.
Yeah. You don't have to. Lakini nyinyi, a old man who is muscled, anapigana na kasichana hata unakanyaga chini. With all your kilos. At equal right, equal fight. Really? Yeah, so that's why I'm telling you we have to rethink when we are mixing the old and the new. Because that is not how Africans used to do. You don't fight, you look for your aunt, anakukalisa chini. You look for your brother's father, unaongea. Sasa you have lost all that. Sasa your advisor in marriage is your age mate.
What about the current situation where a woman empowers herself to a point where she wants to fight a man instead?
It's wrong. It's still wrong. It's both ways. Because even women also, empowerment, there must be the social harmony. That one you must appreciate. There must be social harmony. There must be somebody who is the leader of a household. A household. And both by traditional society, both by the Quran, we are slaves. No. Yeah, it doesn't mean that. So embrace leadership from a male leadership should actually be empowering women. Did you? Male leadership must empower. A woman must feel comfortable around you because you are her leader. And she must obey by consent. That's natural because you are a good leader. You don't have to coerce because they obey you by nature of how you are treating them. And I'll tell you, women respond to what is given. You started, they respond to that. You treat her badly, she will double it. She's not supposed to be your slave. Are we agreeing? To that extent, yeah?
Yes, I agree with that. But there's this point where right now women are being empowered. And when they get empowered, they decide that they can be on their own, and they walk out and decide that they can be the father, the mother.
The girls have to say about that. What was done about
My opinion, I strongly feel like this man just feel intimidated. The men who feel like women who are empowered are going to walk out. They are intimidated by the same women that they want, and they don't want to support them in the right manner, and also teach them how they want to be loved. So they just feel like, this woman is going to overpower me and also deal with me accordingly when I mess her up. Because you see now, an empowered woman, you can't mess her up in her right senses. She will deal with you. So I think it's just intimidation.
Intimidation, then I'm going to respond. Let's hear another girl.
I think mine is in support of her actually. Like most men feel threatened by an empowered woman. And I think the big problem that we have is us not teaching our men how to deal with us empowered women. So
That's one, and then that one, you come to men to respond to that.
Okay, I feel like empowerment should be a two-way. When empowering women, we should also remember to empower the men, because at times we find that empowered women tend to have different ideologies with men who are not empowered. So I feel like we should empower both genders. Yeah.
men are already empowered.
You still step out
I think for me, I have two opinions. First, you talked about we reciprocate what we give.
Yeah.
But in the recent occurrences, at times we don't even receive. We give them what we want. At times they don't even give us anything. So I feel like the empowerment of women has also brought out an aspect where we want to be men. We want to be the alphas. And so we want to show them how they should treat us or show them how they should do this. And so at times we are not even being fed any energy. We just give them what we want.
It is you who is originating.
Yes, the
negative energy.
yes. So
Wow,
I
that's
think
coming from a girl. She knows.
yes, it's it's my opinion. But I also think now on the aspect of empowerment, I'd say naturally men are alphas, right? From the word go, you find a man knows what he wants to do. But currently, I don't know what's going on with their alpha side. Either they switched it off or it's not there at all. Because like they don't know what they are doing or where they are going. And so it's up to us to step up and do it, you know. And so when I step up and do it, my masculine side is now becomes higher than my feminine side. So what do you expect? I'll be loud, I'll be harsh. My energy is not positive as a feminine woman, so I'll always have my masculine side up. So if there's a way these people can step up their masculinity and we can step up our femininity, things will work out. So it's not about that mentorship as such, it's more or less both me controlling my masculine side and them also ensuring that their masculine side is up and my feminine side is also taken care of. So things will just balance out.
Balance. Let's hear her.
For me, I think it's a difference in generation. For example, the men that we have right now have been raised on So, in the past,
Can you hear her? Yeah, shout, they can hear you.
in the past, for example, women were taught to, if your husband comes to the house, in a certain way you should treat them. But then I think from the physical perspective, there's a difference in how men and women should treat each other. And when men are told, and when we women are told to submit, it's from a point of respect.
Yeah.
And when men are told to love us, it's still from a point of respect, but there's a certain reciprocation that should work that will allow us to be able to do that together.
Well together. Yeah, it must be a two-way.
Yeah.
What she's saying, it must be a two-way process. Do any man have a response, especially on that area? That actually that we're intimidated by these women.
No.
Let's hear you.
I'm not responding, but I want to agree with some few from this other side of the gender. But education is good to all of us, both men and women. Empowerment is good, which has really favored the female side. But however, I agree with Mwende in the first comment and slightly disagree with her in the second comment in this line. And actually it is making us to fear to marry. Because it is being hard for me, being brought up with a father who is a traditionalist. I've been seeing my mother respecting my father to that extent. Then I'm marrying this girl who is coming. Even if I agree with her point, but I think that point should be made such that I agree with it. She made that point that it is coming from me, although it is her point, so that I can agree with that point because I'm the man. You know?
What are you saying?
It is her point. I haven't finished. It is her point, yes. But now because I'm the head of the family, the chair. Now what these people are, and in our current generation, that they want to be the chair when the chair is already existing. I think that's where they are out of order. Yes. So that's where they be out of order to some extent.
Let's hear another man before we come to that lady. So that we finish this debate.
My opinion, you know, men are usually they're usually egoistic. Their nature is usually egoistic, and they like doing in competition. So hence why we won't allow any intimidation from the female side. And this brings about when a woman tries to level himself with the position of a man, he'll be like, a man will see like that's more of he's trying to prick me. That's not intimidation. He's trying to prick me, trying to infuriate, just to make me angry. Not a matter of intimidation.
Because he's pushing you to a particular direction. Okay. Let's hear that man, then we come to these two girls to finish the debate.
First and foremost,
don't take the other hand.
First and foremost, I'd like to say that I'm sorry because I'm going to say that men and women are not equal at all.
Yes.
Men and women are not equal. We are built different. Even the Bible says that the man is the head, the woman is the neck. And, I'm sorry, I'm not really well acquainted with the verses, but also the Bible says that women came from our ribs and they were made from our ribs. What that means is we should work in harmony. So a man that is given submission and respect will never, ever. When a woman submits and respects a man will go out of his way to empower that woman to provide and to take care of their own. So I feel like women, So I feel like when women submit and respect men, no one will ever be beaten, no one will ever be belittled. Wait, Buana.
Okay, let's hear that man.
See you.
My point was, for the discussion, you have to go back to these things to say.
Yeah.
Those, when people before they got married and stuff, well, my brother still, that's your God people. Women, wakipanisha sauti, not everything inafaa ijibiwe like in the same manner. It's her voice. Anaweza scream, anaweza fanya anapotaka. Let her do it. As long as the temple of the Lord is Jaguswa.
That's a leader talking.
Yeah, she can just talk.
Yeah.
Asinigonge anaongea na express. When she's done with it, we'll go back to being the family we are. And Actually, that is the thing. The thing which most people miss in that.
Yeah.
See, there's no you. You can walk away. You can just entertain her. After it, and it's quite toxic inside.
Yeah.
But you guys can correlate. Because when you say I'm not equal, you may have a big heart. Maybe Samson a big heart, but in a different way. So, for the essence of this conversation, and bring back to the Portuguese.
To the basics, yeah. Very good. Let's hear this girl. Who was the girl? The one, two girls. Starting with you, then you come how we finish that. That is an important debate for leadership. Because if we are unable to handle the basics, like a family, like another fellow person who is just next to you, then you have no basis to come and tell us you are leading a multitude of other people. Even self-leadership, you start there.
According to me, I agree with him slightly, not some things.
Something.
First of all, we have evolved. We don't expect the kind of the lives that our parents lived that the ones we live. The kind of marriages of slavery is imeisha. Me, I believe if you have an opportunity, I also have one.
Yeah.
But still in the same opportunity, I should be able to respect you. And the respect should come the other way. It goes two ways. You should be able to respect me and I still respect you. Because if there will be respect, I don't think there will be anything. And another point is, you've talked too much. I believe even the Bible says the woman should submit. But you don't expect me to submit where there is no respect, where there is no love. At least come out your way. I even believe a man who is not empowered can get married to a woman who is empowered, as long as the woman shows respect and the man goes out of his way. Hata kama hauna job, at least try when you hustle, unioneshe, at least you're doing something. Well, nini itafanya nisi provide the other moga.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'll say two things. One is that how we also empower the women matters. Because personally I've observed that in the space that I'm in or the community that I come from, there's a lot of negative feminism empowerment.
Yes.
That also women feel that mwanaume hawezi niambia kitu or anything. There's a way that I cannot listen to a man or that is why our men have the mindset of unempowered women hawezi kuhandle. It's how even we project the empowerment that we have. How are we empowering the women? Because initially ilikuwa kuleta mwanamke pia juu, like to a level that she can also have education, like akue anaweza kujitafutia and all that. But how we are putting that out is also quite different. And then the other part is men also should learn how to handle an empowered woman.
Yeah.
Of course, every woman has her way that they anataka kuwa handle. So if we understand that, I think we will be able to do better than kusema
Kuna anything happen? Ningewaandikia the summary of what we have said. Now, why I'm giving you space to discuss about this? Because the basic issues is what make a leader. If you are able to handle, first of all, you must be able to handle yourself. Self-discipline, self-leadership. There are people who wake up in the morning, and I usually say that, especially to young people, the basic thing, they don't even make their bed. Ukienda kwa room yako, nyumbani, especially the younger generation, I'm not talking about you. Unaona msichana ni msafi huko nje, ako hivi kasichana kako karibu na kasafi. Ukienda kwa room yake, viatu ziko juu ya kitanda, sufuria za juzi zimejaa hapo, everything. Huyo msichana akiingia kwa nyumba anaingia TikTok na sufuria ziko hapo na dinio, alafu akikumbuka anapigiwa simu, hakuja twende, anakuwa safi hizo anaweka anadinio. Saa hiyo trouser imerudiwa mara ngapi? Mara tatu. The bra that you are wearing, umewea mara ngapi? 7. Then you are lacking just the basic, the self-management skill. If you are not able to self-manage yourself and self-leadership, then you move from there. Now you come to a spouse, if you get married, or another sibling, or even a parent, the people around you. That's when you realize that you are a leader. What do you do when you enter a house and you meet everything is scattered? And it's ni kwenu, pengine hata unakaa na wazazi. Na mtu ameenda amejifungia bedroom, hajui kama vyombo vimeoshwa, hajui kama kumepikwa, saa 3 anateremka na what do you call those things you wear? No, I have you in my house. Zinaitwaje? Hizo mnavaa. Aidha dera au kuna katrouser ke tight, ako hapo na tight na t-shirt. Yeah. Na slip on, anateremka. Akuja akule sapa, hajui ilipikwa na nani. Hajui nani ataos na akimaliza kula anatembea na simu yake. Na saa hiyo mko hapo hata bado wako kwa simu. He's not even interacting with the family. That's how you realize that somebody who is becoming a leader or not. And so it also applies to the men. Uko hapo bulb, mama yako ana shida akicomplain hapo bulb. Even you cannot. Even in your own house, you have to hire somebody to come and cut the fence. Now, where the body? Not that you are working, you are busy there looking for a job, you are spending the days in your house. But you are hiring people to come even cut the basic, the fence. How to tend flowers around you. Those are the self-leadership that you must learn. Before you come to marriage or other things, you must also start with yourself. When you self-manage yourself, and it is a journey, by the way. Don't be told it's easy. It is a decision you make. I'm going to do self-management. I'm going to do all that really make the life of other people easier to live with me. And that includes tidying up where you are. Kuna watu hata akikutembelea, by the way, unaomba Mungu utasaidia huyu aende lini. Kwa sababu of the way you live with others. If you lack self-management, don't expect to come and tell us you are going to manage a political party, to become a CEO, to become what. You have to start with self-management. What you have said in this conversation is one, we should try as much as possible to do positive empowerment for both women and men. Empowerment. For the right perception to the children. But the other thing you have said that both, I am going to respect this woman and love her. With time, in a short time, a woman who is loved consistently is going to submit naturally. It will come natural for that woman to submit. Yes. The other way, you may decide to just submit to that man. A man who is submitted to every other time will naturally love you. It will come, it is that way. It's a question of the egg or who start first. But somebody must break the cycle. And I'll tell men, because you happen to be the leaders of the society and the leaders of that family, then you start and you break the cycle. You must break the cycle. Be responsible of that family, because you are the one responsible for that particular family. That is what we are saying, both ways. There must be mutual respect. 3, you have said there must be unlearning. And this has to be done deliberately. You are coming from a family, and somebody have said it, that your father alikuwa anakohoa mkiwa kwa gate, both mama yako na watoto. You take off, au unasimama mgoje, what next is to be? You start attention. Now you expect your wife, ukikohoa ukiwa kwa gate, a start attention. Hajui hiyo, kwa sababu kwao hajaona hivyo. Lakini kwao hakuona hivyo. That is not how the situation have also changed. So you have to unlearn that your father is not you. You have to bring up the type of your family depending on the wife you have married, and then you have to have that mutual conversation. The conversation part of it, you must converse. Because don't expect, because of how you see your father do, is what you are going to do. It might backfire on you. There are some issues you may pick from your father, others, the generations have changed, the situation have changed. So there's a lot of unlearning to do. For women, unlearning must to do with empowerment. What did you learn? What do you think is empowerment? Because sometimes you take it beyond what empowerment is all about. You do the things that you think that are masculine. You think empowerment is changing from being a woman to becoming a man. It was not the intention. You are not supposed to be transformed to a man. You are supposed to be a woman that is empowered, is able to do many things. You cannot sleep hungry because your husband is jobless. You are going to bring something on the table. Secondly, and the last one, don't expect that this woman who is working and have children and is also doing a lot of side hustles and all that, will also be able to handle all the things at home perfectly. So there must be mutual agreement on how support should be, which support should come around. And that's why I'm saying a woman is not supposed to be a slave. Yeah, slavery is not part of the process of marriage. It's mutual agreement and support one another. So a lot of unlearning has to take place. And I have concluded that debate. I intentionally wanted to do that because that's where the links start meeting us. The personal and the family level. When you lose there, then you cannot come and be able to tell us next what to do as a nation. You must start there. That is the basic reading. And a strong family forms the foundation of a strong nation. Yeah, a strong individual forms the foundation of a stronger family, and then the structure goes like that. Yeah. I don't know what time you want me to break or choose something. The remaining a few minutes. Now, let's come now to the liberation. The decolonization of Africa of a series of political development, of course, started from the 1950s. That's when the people now started having the agitation to move away from the colonial perceptions. And they wanted now to become independent between 1950 to 1975, and it was during the Cold War. You all read in the history books about the Cold War and what happened. Throughout the 50s and 60s, many African countries gained independence from British and other colonial government. Of course, the first country to get independence was Ghana in 1957, if you remember, 1957. That was the first country. Kenya got independence in 1960. Many African countries, and then colonial government gave way sovereign states in a process of open marriage by violence, like the Bambao Rebellion, political turmoil, widespread unrest, and organized revolts. So when we see even the current what we are calling Gen Z today, it's just a form of another liberation. And these were young people actually, you are going to see shortly, they were young people who are actually trying to get independence from their colonial masters. The decolonization of Africa, it was a duplicate. So a brief of, we have the Ghana fight for independence, national movement in Congo, the Kenya independence. I may not dwell so much on the Ghanaian yet, but although we peruse through, but we shall come to Kenya independence, so that I bring you to where political parties came in. Have you done the Ghana? Just wanted to peruse through. Oh, no, there's no right of the Ghana. Okay, then go to the Kenyan. Then, I think the first history, the Kenyan political history starts there, in terms of the political parties. We start with the East African Association, which was there and started by somebody called Harry Thuku. And Harry Thuku was arrested in the 50s, actually it was in the late 50s, and a new organization, the Free Central Association, emerged with Jomo Kenyatta as its General Secretary General. No, it was fabulous. The East African Society was fabulous. It was in the 1920s, the 1921-22, the association, the EAA. Then came the Kikuyu Central Association, 1928. You can see, we started 1921 to have the first, around 1921 to have the first association, like look like a political party, an association, because political parties were never around at that particular time. So they came together, what they were calling the East African Association. When Duku was arrested and a few other people, Kenyatta came up with the Kikuyu Central Association. He now, you see, he was not thinking Kenya, because they were hakukuwa social media, hakukuwa communication, so that they know that Maasais are also suffering, and the Kalenjin are also suffering. They were seeing where they were being concentrated. That's why you see, the meeting point were not possible. You know, there were no proper transport, there were no proper roads. Imagine that they were organizing, migomo kama hiyo yenu, with no phones, with no communication, with even no roads, no vehicles, lakini they were able to riot. You have moved fast. So, as Kenyatta became the first Secretary General in this country, any person called Secretary General in a political association, Kenyatta was the first one in 1917. Go on now. Then, in 1944, CAU was founded. The Kenya African Union. At that particular time, it was founded as a study union. It's like a university, what we call the university association today. The SONU, the PUSO, the what else? The MUSO. All that. That is what was CAU about. It was about students. It was about people who are going to school, and then they wanted to have a study union, which attempted to gain a mass African following. They never looked at Kenya, because there were scholars who are studying abroad. You remember Kenyatta went to study abroad. Other people are studying in different countries. So finally, CAU was formed. Africa, in the colony, who felt that Kenyatta tactics were not producing enough concrete result, one such group was the brutal approach. They thought Kenyatta using CAU was very diplomatic, because hii ni wasomi, wanabeba vitabu, wanabeba abroad, wanabeba vitabu vya chemistry. Wakaonekana kwamba these ones are very diplomatic, they are not engaging, and they don't even know at what point shall we gain independence. That's why they came up with the Mau Rebellion. They organized themselves now as a very group. They now started attacking the white man. They actually started even killing the white settlers and taking their property. So the Mau Mau was born around that time. Then actions attributed to Mau Mau caused the colonial government to proclaim a state of emergency in 1922. Juzi nyinyi mlifanya kuwe na proclamation ya nini? State of security emergency. You have your own state of emergency, but security emergency. For the first time since independence, the army came to the street to deal with civilians in the streets of Nairobi. Since independence, imagine. Now the action attributed to Mau Mau, they say, caused the state of emergency from October 1952 to 1960. Kenyatta was released from prison. Of course, in the midst of that, Kenyatta was already arrested. He was released from prison in 1929, but was then confined to his home. He was arrested with many other. You know, history, I don't know, those people who study literature like myself, we used to ask ourselves whether Jomo Kenyatta was a hero or a traitor. Yeah. There was that question that read in the history book. because he was released. The reason why those questions come along, number one, he was not the leader of Mau Mau initially. He was arrested, he was released earlier, then he was taken to school by the colonial government. Then after he came up, he was made a leader of Mau Mau. I don't know how he came to become the leader of the Mau Mau. There are those questioning gaps in history. Okay?
Before you continue, for me my question would be, was he an opportunist in such a way he was at the right time, he was in the right place at the right time?
At the right time.
The place where he gets arrested so that you know him, he's released on time so that the other, when there are no leaders, now he steps up and starts talking. He's educated so that becomes the white errand boy and they now place the right person they wanted there. Would it be that's where our problems with the white people started with Kenyatta?
Do you think it's the way our problem? It's an honest conversation. Do we start there? Did we start there?
We started by them delay.
We are saying our problem started earlier.
Our problem with the white man started earlier. But I concur with her. Kenyatta, I don't regard him as a hero. I don't regard him as a hero. I see him as a collaborator. A person who was just put there to just make us now.
He was put there to make us cool down. He was managing us. Okay, that's history and those questions. As a good student of history and literature, I think those questions needed to be answered. The question whether it was an opportunity he found, or the people who released him in time had seen an opportunity how to deal with the rest of the masses. But as a leadership will have it, he took also the opportunity. He grabbed the opportunity, if that is the correct side of history. And one thing he will teach you is that when an opportunity comes, wacha kuuliza maswali. Take the opportunity. Do not hesitate twice, thinking whether I'm going to take it. And I'm talking especially to young people. Sometimes the older people don't care. They will speak their mind, they will pick the opportunity and run with it. Sometimes the youth start doubting themselves. Naanza kudoubt, nitaweza, nikisema hivi, you see. Sometimes we miss the opportunities because of fear, self-indoctrinated fear. What people have said about you, you put it in your head, you don't believe in yourself. So the issue of taking opportunity is what we can learn from this story. Any other?
This is a different story. I'm thinking if that happened during that time, then this revolution that Gen Z has started, the reason why we want it to be leaderless is because even though Kenyatta became a leader by another revolution, and the change that the rebellion is not seen.
Can you hear that? When the issue of Gen Z wanting to become leaderless because of such that the leader will emerge, take them.
It's like
take the opportunity.
It's all a political manipulation where you pick a leader and then the people believe the leader is going to help you, but then they are being manipulated to do something. And by you being in a certain way,
I don't know how you deal with that because I can tell you for sure you cannot remain leaderless for long and achieve results. You cannot remain a leaderless group for long because you have to come to the negotiating table and say this is the change we expect and this is where we want to go. Let's start with him. You didn't finish.
So could there be that there's an association that leaders from different, they're not really tribes, but different generations that can come together and create, like I said, a plan for the way Kenya can go back to where we needed to be.
Where we needed to be. Yeah, that's why I'm saying the question of leadership comes in. And I like your approach. You're saying an intergenerational leadership group because every generation has its own resource that they have, and knowledge and wisdom they will bring to the table, and they have certain responsibilities. Yeah, so when we are grappling towards change, leadership is also very important. I don't know what this particular generation is going to deal with that, because for sure you can't achieve a lot of results if there is no organized discussions, and discussions have to happen within a leadership.
I think for me, one of the things, in as much as we are leaderless and tribeless, it doesn't mean that it does not mean that like hakuna watu tunafuata. The issue is we are not parading anyone as our leader. We are not saying you are the leader. For example, when we had the Twitter space, right? We wanted to host the president. We wanted not him to tell us what to do, but for him to come on the space and wait to be hosted. But we had one of the influencers step up and pretend to be the leader and host the president. Immediately after hosting the president, we kicked him out because you're a traitor. We didn't ask you to do it. So what happens is, if you get ukilipwa wewe unatoka, sisi tunaendelea. Wewe usishajitoa, you know. And so when we say we don't have specific leaders, that's the point of it, because this thing has not been happening in Nairobi only. It's in Mombasa, it's in Kitale, it's in Meru, it's everywhere. And when you come to Meru, if you ask who is organizing it, you'll never find who's doing it. Because like communication comes from every corner. If you come to Mombasa, still the same thing. The only thing they have is just the aspect of using communication wisely. You communicate, you ensure every corner of that town is fully aware and things run. We're still able to communicate our demands. And if honestly if it wasn't working, would the president be signing the IBC Nini today? No, it's still working.
It's working,
It doesn't have to follow the normal protocol that is used to. Because if you say something like negotiation, it never works in this country. So we have to step out of that cocoon of like closing ourselves to tables and allowances and just pushing it on the road, and they will literally just listen to what we have to say at that point. So.
Okay. In terms of pushing the agenda, it's working. I cannot say it's not working. But in terms of finally saying, this is the way we want you to be. Finally, what you agree as a nation that comes from through a protocol. Probably you need to rethink who will present you in those kind of. And then Mukarishe, so that they represent the interest of the generation. Yeah, I want to kindly just listen to me, then we go for tea break. I'm told we are badly inside.
My point was coming back to the Kenyatta story, where you're saying is a hero or a traitor. So my views are from a social view. You know, after being tortured, he was tortured. We all know that he was tortured. From being tortured, maybe he saw an opportunity where, let me just rally behind them so that I can free my own citizens. That's my view. Because after being tortured, he was really tortured enough.
Yeah, he was tortured, it's true.
Yeah, so it is not a matter of he became a traitor. He was tortured first before he then began to work with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it is
none of us was there. None of us was there.
Just him being initiated. It was just a starting point.
Who tortured him is the whites.
Yeah,
that's why that question usually remains at debate. Why? Give different views.
They were arrested, so many of them. Why wouldn't they pick Paul Gay, Bildad Kankia, why did they only pick why they were six up in Bunia?
Another question is, why is it that after the Europeans left, he was left so many resources, so only him? That's why sometimes I also think that to some extent he's a traitor. Because if you look at okay, I'm sorry to ask this question, but more than how can one person have more than 6 billion acres after independence? Why not polygate? Why not
By the way, a good question. But I had to make it's a debate. It never concluded who was the traitor, whether he was a traitor, but there's a question in history and in our literature books. When we study, when you read even Facing Mount Kenya, which is written by himself, you are going to also ask one or two questions as you read the book. but it remains a literary conversation, and it's a good one because it also sharpens your mind to think differently as a leader. When you come into leadership, how do you come? And you see, we're also suffering from the same problem I said in the beginning of that generation. Lack make you. Yeah. Today, by the way, majority of you are comfortable living in a flat in 17th floor in Nairobi with your family. No, there are many people who are, they don't necessarily need 70 acres so that you build that. Yeah. You have a plot 50 by 100, you're okay, and you feel you are satisfied. There's a lady saying you are not.
No, I'm saying like, you see, we've gotten from that mindset of we need 100 acres to be considered well off. Right now, if you're healthy and you have a good phone and you can eat KFC, you're good to go.
Then you continue in the conversation from Kenyatta, moving on, and we know how political parties then came to existence. Why are you in KANU today? Why are you in ANC today? And how is that process? How that process has been? Thank you. Time to go.
The flea of the tail of the dog, of the wife, of the son, of the old man of Borneo has just come to town. Oh, the flea of the tail of the dog, of the wife, of the son, of the old man of Borneo has just come to town.
This side. The book on Dr.Ann Nderitu will tell you the whole struggle of the Mau and what actually happened. And somebody said here, which is a fact, that some majority of the Mau people ended up having no land. And you have seen even in the current generation, just during the last administration of Uhuru Kenyatta, Mau being given land because they have been landless, even their children. Why? Because when they went away and they were jailed, by the time they came, people had and it became actually a struggle for them at that particular time. So you see, sometimes you can struggle, but it is not necessarily you who should benefit from that struggle. Sometimes the struggle should be for the common good, even for generations to come, not necessarily you. And we say a good leader is the one who can plant a tree that we shall never sit under its shade. We are the kiongozi. You are leading for purposes of other people. You are not a leader for purposes of yourself, it's for purposes of other people. So amid this leadership, you may miss the opportunities. When you miss them, how do you react? Do you become bitter? Or do you continue with the struggle to bring a better country and a better space of the globe where then other generations and other people will benefit? When you read even about Martin Luther King, did you, of course the dark history of Martin Luther King, which is known, but the struggle and coming out to challenge the status quo and to challenge the system that were there at that particular time brought a lot of liberation for the black people. And he never even lived to enjoy the freedom that he brought, but he has been written in history and is celebrated. So sometimes leadership is about sacrifice, to sacrifice for others, to really benefit your children, even if they are not your children, the next generation should enjoy that you lived, that you existed. That is actually what also leadership is about. That is the story of Dedan Kimathi. So, 1944, we have said COW was formed. I have explained about COW. 1960, we saw the formation of KANU and KANU. KANU by Jomo Kenyatta, KANU by, and who formed KANU? Oginga Odinga, yes. KANU by Oginga Odinga and KANU. And KANU. Of course, KANU was the first political party to be formed, followed by KANU. Then in 1964, KANU dissolved and merged with those leaders, Jomo Kenyatta and Jaramogi Odinga. So the sense that if we continue fighting separately, we are going to be defeated, because the Mzungu will come to this group, then he make them fight the next group. He alikuwa anawaunganisha. So they agreed, and you shall read that in Facing Mount Kenya, that they agreed, let's join forces. And when we join forces, we shall be stronger. And that is the first merger that ever happened in 1964. And they now started working as a team. But as leadership will be, they differed in ideology. Jaramogi Odinga, when I don't know who shall be talking a bit about ideology. Jaramogi Odinga was a socialist by nature. His perception of life was socialism. He wanted whatever little is there, everybody benefits and everybody, just like we had socialism in Tanzania. We wanted that kind of arrangement. Socially, ujamaa, people working together, and whatever comes, we all divide, and for common good. But Kenyatta and KANU, on the other hand, were conservatism. They had an ideology called conservatism. Conservatism, they wanted to conserve the status quo of pre-independence in terms of culture and everything, but on top of that, they wanted you are compensated according to how you work. That's how capitalism now became the operation of conservatism ideology. There was a merger between capitalism and conservatism. That's how Kenya is a capitalist, because we started there. We divided upon ideological disposition. We tried, but finally we agreed. Let's become. Finally, we became capitalist. I think by default. I don't think we are ready to become capitalist or to become conservative. It's that now KANU became the party leader. You have a question?
It's not a question. I was just trying to figure out. Yesterday we were told something belief of system. Belief system.
Yeah.
So I think we acquired a bad belief system with politics since that era, and that's what has been passing by as leaders pass leadership. So I think we can maybe try and adapt a new belief system of leadership.
We were given, it was given to us by our masters, by colonial masters, but also we chose to have different ideology, because at that particular time, Tanzania was also getting independent, but they adopted ujamaa. As we remained conservatists and gravitated towards capitalism. But Tanzania gravitated towards ujamaa. Later, ujamaa could not work, because there are some people who also decided we are not going to work. Whatever comes, we eat. After that, we sleep. The production level in Tanzania became low, but the consumption was high. The mathematics were not balancing, so the socialism system collapsed at that particular time. But I agree with you. We adopted belief system that came from there. And you know, African society was basically a socialist society. It was a socialist community. It is only that we now wanted to make it official, but naturally speaking, Africans, even the initial African society was socialist in nature. That's why they shared grazing land. They had no problem. There were a few quarrels about grazing land because it was not demarcated. They agreed this is us, this is community, and they accommodated people. So we moved through the party system. That's why we moved now through conservatism as a country. And of course, brought in the issue of democracy. That particular time, in 1966, immediately after independence, not so long after independence, we formed Jaramogi Oginga, they differed with Kenyatta. Then he formed KPU. KPU is Kenya People's Union. It was formed in 1966 by Jaramogi Oginga. However, Kenyatta was already the president. At that particular time, Jaramogi became kind of an opposition. And in 1969, Kenyatta went to Kisumu. And there was, of course, people agitating for Jaramogi and his socialist ideology conflicted with Kenyatta's capitalism, and Kenyatta was stoned. Remember the story where he was by eggs, bad eggs, yeah, and then stones. On that particular, that is when dictatorship to us, and to me, from a historian point of view and a literature student, I know that's how dictatorship started setting in. From perspective that because you have been stoned, the only reaction is that to kill them, you see. And many people were shot and died in that single incident. Immediately after that incident, 1969, KPU was banned. And banned, and Kenya was declared a de facto one-party state. What is what do you mean by de facto? De facto? Inafanyika not necessarily that is in any constitution. Is it that, Kadhani? Yes. Kadhani ni wakili. What does it mean?
By fact.
By fact. Yeah, by fact, it is the operational status at that particular time. And a fact, and then you declare. That's what happened in 1969, and we became a de facto one-party state. So KPU was done. And that the story now of opposition and people fighting for their right also became live. So then, of course, in between there was the Kenyatta died in 19... When did he die? When we are not born. But your mothers were. Yeah. 1978. That is when Kenyatta died. I was a small child when Kenyatta died. And I remember, the only thing I remember is seeing people, of course I was born in the 70s, mid generation, X, yeah. Seeing people coming together and around the radio, a small radio, and radios were not many like today. Pengine jamii wengine haikuwa na radio, they came around the radio to listen to Kenyatta announcement because they believe Kenyatta cannot die. There was a belief system that Kenyatta is even thinking, it was even treasonable to think or imagine the death of the president. Hata kuimagine the president can die. It was criminal. He could be arrested. Even imagine. Na nini naona mkitembeza our president kwa nilio bila mnataka. That's when you know that you yeah, hata mnakuta Baba Sharin. Hata mnakuta zakati and you go together with murder. As for that generation. Yeah, because we have come from, and that's why we celebrate the leaders that have been there, that have, including the current president, to uphold democracy to the extent that people can say what they want. And the most important thing to be, doesn't matter what you say, although you have a responsibility to say the right thing and the correct thing, but we must protect the right for people to say, the right for people to speak. And the last government have done that. Kibaki's government did that. Even the current government is doing that. You can say, and they have not, but for example, we have done all that. They have not switched off the internet or the media and everything because they are protecting the right to say it. It is the constitution, but it's another altogether for a leader to articulate that. And that's why we really celebrate the leaders that are there, even today, for the fact that they have preserved our democracy to this extent. So after dying, then Moi took over in 1978. Yeah, of course, you remember, if you are a student of history, read, whom do I tell you to read? Read a book by the current gentleman who is the new ODM, the executive director, Oduor Ongwen. If you want to now understand the history of what happened during 1992 at the coup, read a book by Oduor Ongwen. I don't know what it's called because I've read it and I have a copy. I don't remember what the making. I think the making of something. Yeah, read that. If you want to learn another one, read a book by Joe Hamisi. Joe Hamisi was an MP. He also talked about what happened in 1982 all the way coming this way, the successful administration. It helps you when you read and you are going to understand. So, Moi took over 1978. Then after 1978, and people really celebrated, and KANU was strengthened. We are still a one-party state. Yeah, and we really celebrated, and the new president was okay, and he was really, we strengthened KANU. Watu wa KANU hapa? Baba na mama. Yeah. We strengthened KANU so that KANU had a philosophy, KANU philosophy. Who can remember the KANU philosophy? It had peace, love, and unity was their slogan and philosophy. Yeah, and they believe that you can have peace, love, and unity. That is when the national pledge was amassed in school. Hapa nikiuliza ni wangapi wanajua national pledge? The royalty pledge, sorry. You're able to have maybe, yeah. Ojuan, yeah. Ronald, maybe you know. You can say it? Yes. Can you say it? Nisikie.
Duty to defend the flag of our republic, my devotion to the words of our national anthem, life, strength, and service, in the spirit of
You are pledging, even when we are demonstrating, kindly say the royalty pledge to your country. National anthem is okay, but it was also the royalty pledge, and it's very important. It was made during KANU days, between 1978 and 1982, and it used to be mandatory in every parade you go to do the royalty pledge together with the national anthem. Mumepotea hapo, rudini kwa royalty pledge. Ulifunzwa?
Yesterday, Mr. Bishop. He said that we should have the love of our country.
Yeah.
But we think the loyalty pledge at the time was like a kind of propaganda machine that country and KANU meant the same thing.
Yeah.
So dissenting against KANU meant dissenting against the country, and at the current stage of time.
Yeah, KANU was government, and the government was KANU. There was no difference. But the royalty pledge, even if you look at the words today, they still make a lot of sense as a national unity symbol. And it was detached from KANU when KANU left power at that particular time. Although mulituambia KANU lived 100 years.
KANU is still the political class, even the president right now is
it's a former KANU.
He's a life member.
Now, I was giving that history to tell you that in 1982, it's when the coup attempt happened. When the coup attempt happened, of course, every coup attempt comes with repercussion. You also want to protect you as a leader yourself, and that's how Moi declared through assembly. It was de facto. We were a state de facto one-party state. Now it became by constitution a one-party state. So, and laws were made. That's why now people started aggravating toward change. Immediately after it became uniting, several years people were fearful, they were being arrested and whatever, and Moi became very strong, as you know. At that particular time, you were one-party state, and then that's when you are going to the chief's office. Unapewa kadi ya KANU. You'll be served if you have KANU card. There's a time you could not receive service if you don't produce a KANU card, which used to sell at 3 shillings. I think it was 2 shillings first, then 3 shillings, then 10 shillings. Then 10 shillings later. Lazima ununue hiyo, then after that upewe service that you are requiring. KANU became very, very, very strong as a party. And it was everywhere. They marketed it, it was everywhere. Every sub-location had KANU officials, and everybody was in KANU. Then agitation continued. In December 1991, to have this long story short, between this period, people started agitating for change so that we become a multi-party democracy. We allow more parties. And people are agitating that Section 2A of the Constitution, which was put there in 1992, be repealed. And that's what we are fighting for. And the fighters were young people. And that's why I say that the role of young people in governance. They work in Olego, they work in Gitobi, Manyana, Akina Kiraito Murugi, Akina this other guy of course, Wadawilo, Gaga. Some of them were university students and they were in union of university. So they came together and they started fighting the regime and they agitated for repeal of Section 2A of the Constitution. And Moi succumbed to pressure, and in 1992, there was a repeal in that 1991. Then from January 1992, we became a multi-party democracy again. And then we now started the registration of political parties. Then the infrastructure of registration of political parties was under the Registrar of Societies. So you could walk into the office of Registrar of Societies, register, and in the afternoon you shall have a political party. And they registered many political parties after that. The rights of, can you remember the parties that were then there? Safina ilikuja juzi kidogo. Ford Kenya, Ford they let us split, ikakuja Ford people, Ford Asili, DP was registered in around that time. Yes, DP was also around that time. Yeah, People's Party. NAC was registered after 2005. When after Kibaki became around 2002. When Kibaki was traveling. No, in a nutshell, parties started getting registered. Then Kenya, being a multi-party democracy, therefore, just move back on this. Kenya being a multi-party state allows people to participate in politics. And that's why you can participate in this country in politics very easily. Meaning, registering political parties became legal, and the registration of political parties was done under the Societies Act. I think I have said that. Then, of course, came the enactment, and this is where I want to give one of is it true? Or like God? I wanted to give the young people to, but let me conclude before they come on board. Of course, the enactment of the PPAs of 2007. Let me tell you what happened before here, because I want you to get history. Before here, Kenyans were agitating to have an organized way of regulating political parties. Because when they went to the Registrar of Societies, Registrar of Society, because he was using an act that was not elaborate, could decide, I'm going to register this party, and I'm not going to register this one. Remember that particular time when the Fort Kenya was registered. It was registered under duress. They took hold of the Registrar of Societies then because she had refused. It was, unfortunately, I think in the history of Kenya, many registrars, all Registrar of Political Parties in this country has been women. I don't know for what. Why? Maybe we do better in that.
Yeah, of course.
In that area. I'm trying to remember whether there was a registrar of even societies who has been a man. Yeah, there was one registrar of societies who was a man, but majority have been women. So she refused to register the party for some reason. And I think going forward, it became very impossible for registration of political parties. So Kenyans started agitating, and the political parties that were agitating for a different infrastructure and a different law that regulated how political parties are registered. And they wanted their own, political parties wanted their own registrar, away from Registrar of Society. And that is how then the first conversation started 2003 on registration of a law that creates an office of Registrar of Political Parties. The first person to present a bill was Muscali Kobo in 2003. He sponsored a bill and said, then he was sponsored a bill and said, we want an office and we want a Registrar of Political Parties separately. It failed. It never saw the light of day. He did it 2005 again, through also support of other people. They failed again in Parliament. But 2007, just before the elections, the party succeeded. I think it was by miracle because there were very few members in the House and people were in the election mood. They just, whoever was there in the Parliament passed the bill. So we had the first Political Parties Act 2007. And the act was specifically enacted on 1st July 2008. So the act was never used in the election of 2007 because it was too close to election. Then they saw the sense that let's wait, the enactment date was given 1st July 2008. By then the elections was over. They seconded an officer who was in the Attorney General in the Registrar of Society, the former registrar, my predecessor, who was called Rusedumu, you know her. She's the first registrar under this act. And she came seconded from the Attorney General's office, from the Registrar of Society, started operating the office. She came with some few staff. One of them is here, it's called Beatrice.
I'm not that old.
Yeah. You can see, she's carrying history. She's part of the history, by the way. When we write about history, about the 8 staff of Registrar of Political Parties, she was one of them in 2003. So, but that's how legally they came to office. But then ECK, 2008, what happened to ECK? They were under ECK, they were brought an office, a department under the Electoral Commission of Kenya, then ECK. What happened to ECK? 2008, it was disbanded after the post-election violence of 2007, 2008, January and February. Then they were blamed for all the chaos and all the elections. Kenyans are very easy to blame institutions, the Electoral Commission especially, and it was blamed. For all, even they never blamed any politician actually. They blamed the institution. And finally it was disbanded, but the office was never disbanded. Why? It was considered that it never operated the election because the enactment date was 1st July 2008. That's how they were saved. They were left there. When I joined IIC 2009, I met them there, looking timid. Yeah, not wondering who are these people. And we came. Of course, because they had the history, we incorporated them and we started working together. with the commission that now came on board as a department. But the Office of Registrar has a lot of political activities as compared to IBC. So the political activity, IBC was not comfortable with the political activities of the Registrar of Political Parties, and every time if you come to office, you are going to find politicians. Some of them angry, don't know them. Some of them throwing hats in the air, doing tratam saying, we can burn this building. We are going to throw you over the window. Those are our clients. So IBC was never comfortable with that kind of arrangement. So they said that there was an agitation now again that the Office of Registrar should move out of the Electoral Commission. Yes. It must be independent from the Electoral Commission. And in 2011, there was the repeal of the Act. Yeah, there was the repeal of the Act. When the Act was repealed, 2011, then it meant that ORPP was moving away from the Electoral Commission. And I want to say that the repeal of the Act did not immediately give the delinquent because of other challenges. One, the finances must be in the place, office must be in place, the other registration and everything. So it took about 4 years from then for the office to fully get delinked from IBC. So it was delinked completely in 2015 to start and move even from the building. That is where we are as far as now it is concerned. Since 2015, we have been operating as an independent institution away from the Electoral Commission with everything our own. The first registrar moved out of that office in 2018. I joined the ORPP in 2018. I think August 2018. And I've been there for the period, taking the heat and jumping over the winter. Yeah. So in a nutshell, the PPA establishes ORPP at the section 33. Which is you can continue from there. Okay. So that hata nikunywe maji.
Connect the machine. I'm not that old. Although I agree I'm a vintage body. Registrar asked a question. How many of us belong to political parties here? How many voted in the last general election? Who did you vote for those who don't belong to political parties?
My choice.
Why didn't you belong to that party over the fire then? Why didn't you join?
Never knew. They don't have proper
structure.
Proper structures.
They don't even mobilize.
They didn't have even one representative.
How do you join a political party?
Registration.
Registration? How do you register?
You become a
Did you know that you can join Wajakoya's party even when you are at Jerian Hotel? Yes. How? SSB.
Through website.
Oh yeah. Okay. Which is? Star 509 hash. Star 509 hash. So,
the registrar has told us there's an office that have been created. Hapo ndio ametuachia, si ndio?
Yes.
The office is called?
Office of the Registrar of Political Parties.
And what is the mandate? Sema, ndio, sema.
Dispute.
Wanna shout.
I'm not sure.
Ndio.
Political Party Tribunal.
Yes. It's called PPDT, Political Party Dispute Tribunal. And if they are not satisfied with the dissolution from the dispute tribunal, now they go to court. Let's go back to the slides. It's misbehaving. So the registrar ametuambia the office came to be in 2011 and we delinked from IBC in 2015, and we have talked about our mandate, which is a supervision. Which is a supervision. There's also the supervision of political parties, which is now, after we have registered them, now we also have to supervise. What are they doing? Who are they dealing with? We need to know. And as an office, to make sure that Wajiko, Wafula, Atieno, wote wanapata services, we have devolved our services. And we have county offices which serves as regional offices. We are not able as per now to be at all counties, the 47, but we have 12 offices. How many people know that we have offices at the county level? Yes, which one do you know?
You offices of all people.
Yes. Yes? We have tuanze huko juu. Nama ni coast ni juu ama ni chini? Chini. Tuanze huko. We have Mombasa, we have Kilifi, and now these offices like Mombasa serve the counties that are around there. That is Kwale and Kilifi. Tumesema tuna office.
Lamu, Tana River.
Okay, Kilifi serves Kilifi, Lamu and Tana River. Mombasa serve the other three. In the interest of time, we have Kitui, we have Isiolo, we have Garissa, we have Nakuru, we have Nyeri, we have Kisumu, Nyahururu, which is in Nyandarua, we have Trans Nzoia, and Uasin Gishu. Those are 12, I believe. And Isiolo, I have said. And yes, we've. Okay. It's okay, we did it as it is. So we have said that the main mandate is registration, regulation, and political parties funds, and our main goal is to promote democracy and good governance. And I believe that is why we are here, because you are the people we expect to be in the ballot paper next general elections, that is in 2027. How many here are buying in 2027? 2032 youth. Then they are there for 2027. We'll see the data for who bought in the last general elections, and we see how we are doing as youth. We have talked about the functions, and we wanted to see how, as youth and other marginalized groups, how we participated in the last general elections and also in the membership of political parties. And there's a abbreviation there, SIGs. What are SIGs?
Special interest groups.
Yeah, special
interest groups.
Which who belong there?
People with disabilities.
Youth, women.
So, these were the numbers that were there for the general elections last year. Last year but one. And how many positions are there?
1,875.
How many went with political parties? Independent candidates? Okay, where were you here? Eh? Yeah, we'll see next. And this is a performance. Where are you? Out of this whole chart, you can see 27% is the only one that went to SIGs. And the others went to us, vintage buddies. So, when we come to more segregation, you can see youth, PWDs there, and women there. Youth, tunaambiwa you make how much of our population?
37%.
That's 7%. But I don't think we are doing very well. Higher. Hapa ni PWDs. And the parties that had most of these, we took the main two. And ODM had how many? UDA? 9. Okay. I want to go to where the youth. Let's go next. Youth, we are here. ODM had how many? 41. And UDA? 109. Then we go to what does MNA mean? How many youth? 2.2. In number? 2. Very well. Who are those?
The SIG. No, this lady.
Who represents me
And there's another.
in Parliament?
There's Uli and this guy from Western. There are 2 nominated.
No, this elected.
They're elected.
Yes. Oh, they're nominated. Nominated, yes. PWD are very eloquent. Asige is in the National Assembly or in the Senate? And this is National Assembly. Somebody who you guys mistreated.
We mistreated?
Yes. In the past.
He was not mistreated. Was he the one who the Gen Zs escorted out during the occupation?
Let's go next. In the Senate, we have 2 youth, we have 2 PWDs, and 16
women bwana. Sina lakini bwana.
I'm bringing these statistics here because you need to have a discussion with the registrar immediately I'm done on how we move forward with this data. Yes? Next. The MCA is what?
Women.
What does MCA mean?
Member of
And we are being told there are 63 youth, there are 37 PWDs, and how many women?
624 bwana.
Only.
Bwana women.
Next. Let's go next. So this now is a comparison between 2013 and 2022. And in 2013, these are women. This way here. Okay. We are talking about women here because you really need to go and encourage them. Why are we doing so badly? Even Rwanda is now the benchmark for everyone in the world, and we are here. So you can see, in 2013 we had how many women vie?
98.
In 2017, how many vie?
1,500.
And in 2022?
1959.
So, we had women in 2022 not elected, though how many? Elected were how many?
172.
So how many women were in the ballot?
Oh, what is the 1,800, 1,900?
And 59 were
So can you see the percentage of the women that were elected? How many percentage?
13%.
Let's go next. Now here is now 2017 and 2022. And again, we have 2017, which we had how many elected?
172.
And in 2022?
190.
Remember the other slide, we said how many women were in the ballot?
1,182.
1,300 something, yeah? Remember?
360.
And in 2022, we had how many candidates?
1959.
What does that tell you, those figures? Yes.
I think for me this growth is just little growth, like it's not it's not like haiko kubwa sana, so we still have a lot of work to do encouraging women to take up elected positions.
Somebody else? Something else you have learned about those figures? Remember here we have 1,300 something, and here we have 1959. The number has been increased, eh? So what does that tell you? It simply means when we have more women come out to go to be in the ballot, we have more chances. And so in 2027, I hope this number will triple, because all women in this hall today will be in the ballot, plus others, plus your brother, your sisters, and your cousins who are ladies must vie next election. Then now here we have all of them, and you can see youth. We are how many? This is which position? Who are we dealing with here? Independent candidates. Now tumetoka kwa political party sponsored candidates. Now here we have independent candidates. How many PWDs came out?
104.
Women?
664.
Youth?
121.
And then look at the percentage there. We're being told that the candidates, the others as vintage bodies, we were how many in the ballot? In the as independent candidates?
70%.
And the other side, political sponsored? The other side that we are from, those were the people who went to the ballot sponsored by political parties. And here, these are independent candidates. So either way, we are not doing well, because what I wanted to bring out here is that there have been this complaint that we are saying, the people in this room, that we don't, the parties belong to them, us. Yet when we come even to independent, but the numbers are not. Let's go to the next slide.
I have a comment there.
Yes.
In the second slide, look at the number of youth. Does it mean youth are uncomfortable in political parties? Why should you be so many in the independent category? Yeah. Is it political parties? What is the? I think it's a conversation we need to have. What is the reason why we have so many? Indeed, you can see they are double the female, double the women.
There's a level of cartel in political parties. Kitambo wewe kama youth in a political party, uanze kuonekana, you do a lot of work. There are so many gatekeepers in political parties. That are like, okay, in our party, I can say in my party is actually a youth-oriented party. They are now inclining more on the side of the youth.
The Kanu Fresh.
The Kanu Fresh. Nice. But now, other political parties, I have friends from other political parties that we got into this journey together. But the steps I've made in Kanu aren't necessarily the same steps they made themselves, because there's so much gatekeeping in political parties. Those people in those positions, the secretary generals, the party secretariats, wanaonangani kama the moment you get there as a youth, they see you are a threat because you have new blood, you have the energy and the time to do it. So lazima ukaliwe, lazima ukangale. So many of them are not.
One of the reasons.
Many of them are not comfortable.
Yes, I also have a comment on that since I've been planning for a while, and I approached them that I wanted to buy so that they can know the notion and stuff. Because what happened in 2022, I was part of the IEBC back in Kisumu County, and there was a very vibrant candidate going for MCA. Both were in the party of ODM, and I don't want to mention, the current one who was elected just came with, this one is a rumor, people say that he came with money, and on the 2 weeks to election, things swapped, the youth was dropped, and he got the ticket of ODM. Mainly because for you to get a seat as a youth, most youths prefer to go independently, because for you to be given that ticket, first, the party will look at what are you bringing to us, which they will do it in terms of money basis. And if you look at us, here the Gen Zs, most of us don't have that money muscle to buy the ticket for our own. Two, it's about, just as Kimani said, the vintage bodies think that we Gen Zs, we are kind of a threat to them. So that, so when we come up, they feel that we are
a political party at that point. And then when he tried joining with you, they kept on asking him, what have you done for us? So like his loyalty was not able to be measured enough on which party he stood, and so they didn't take him up. But immediately he was elected, the first people to reach out to him was actually me. So I think for me the notion of trying to, which is okay, trying to reward loyalty, but also being in a position where you cannot give much to the party, therefore your loyalty is not even measured, makes it hard for young people to be pushed forward and start buying.
You said the two of us. I wanted to respond on that. And that one gave me a bad notion about some parties. When I was vying last year, not last year, 2022, the last general election, manage their parties determines how we will also use their parties to vie for. So we opt to go for independent so that pia to prove a point. Si mmesema mimi sina pesa niko na influence. Wacha ni independent ni wagonge. Yes.
We had that conversation with the registrar. She's coming back here. So here we want to, we say here, the registrar has what functions to say about membership?
Keeping record.
Custodian of the political party's record, and one of it is the membership of political parties.
Yes.
So we say we delinked from IBC which year?
2015.
By the time we delinked, the membership of all the registered political party by then was 208,000. We have moved, you can see the movement. Why this figure here? 2017. Why is it?
There was an election.
Yes?
It was an election.
Then where did they go here? We got disappointed. Then 2021.
2021, nearing the elections of 2020.
It was nearing the elections. So they also
Political temperatures were high.
And remember, these are nations. This is not TU. We started with the 208. Then in 2016 they increased by. In 2017 they increased by. So we have how many total membership of political parties?
24 million.
How many registered voters do we have in this country? And how many members we have for political parties? What? Yes, madam.
I think it's because when we are approaching elections, most politicians, so they use student leaders in campus, wanakuja, wanakuambia, tunatumianga hii USSD, start something, they tell you register as, let me use my party, register as a KANU party member, get 100 more. They'll all register, but ikifika kwa now registering as a voter, they won't turn up. So that is the main reason for the big difference. It's with us Gen Zs. Sisi ndio tunaleta hiyo.
So 2027 bado itakuwa hivyo?
We stop sleeping.
We are awake.
Okay, yeah, you are asleep.
Yes.
Right now people are
right now people are very, very ready to defend the country.
Yes.
Yes, I was saying, we also have this thing that we have active political parties and some that are not. For example, in the 2013 election, we had a URP and TNA which merged to now the Jubilee. So we can have members who are from URP registering again as members of Jubilee. And then later on in 2017, maybe they deferred to ODM. But they registered again as members of ODM. So we have these numbers, they may be double recorded. Because again in UDA, another one will register.
Another function of the office of the Registrar of Political Party is to ensure that you cannot belong to one party.
But you can register. I can register in both parties.
No.
You
You're the
have to
custodian of your membership.
I'm saying this because
you see right now it's not registered. We have to register.
Let me clarify something. Yes, you can register in both. But when you use the USSD code, you can only register to one. So even if you're registered to the other one through a paper, through the membership card, the one that we have in our records in the database is the one that reflects here. Yes.
But you know, me for example, I registered as a member of Jubilee.
Yeah.
Then again,
USSD was not there in 2017.
it was through all the websites.
Yeah, theirs.
Yes.
The parties
then in 2021, when UDA was formed, I registered again through their website, and it's still accepted. I uploaded my ID, it's still accepted.
But now when they went to RPP removed.
No, we didn't remove. There are new amendments that came in 2022, which I'm sure Gaboni will talk about. And you'll see why now from 2022, you cannot belong to two political parties at a go. Because you're the one who is registering yourself, you're the one who is removing yourself, it's not even the party or anybody else. And this, as per the membership, you can see men are still doing better than women here, and we need really to work on our ladies. Let us support them, let us encourage them to join political parties. PWD, you can see, please, if you know PWDs, please encourage them to join political parties. And that is how now we will fill the gap that we are seeing in our elective positions. we are talking about *509#, and you can do all this with that USSD code, check membership status, resign, and also join a political party of your choice. And with that, I want to welcome Gadoni. Yes.
So through this USSD, is now you can link yourself from a political party.
Yes. Yes. You can resign and join another one.
Yes? You wanted to ask something? Oh, okay. Yes. Yes, you can do that through e-citizen as well. Yes.
Let me ask.
Yes.
There's been claims whereby e-citizen's data is not protected. Where would you trust that site with your data? Is there probably data like kama hii information yako ya voters registration unatumia e-citizen? Because so of late when you share information on e-citizen you find it on other platforms. I don't know. I think we just stick with this.
Keep that question somewhere. The registrar will answer it.
You're right.
Yes, something else? We invite Gadoni.
So I hope we're still alert, but I can see the participation is amped. So I can see everyone is ready for the next session.
Yes.
My name is Judy. You can call me Gadoni, whichever you choose. We want to tackle the role of youths first in independence. We said we will try and look at where we started from so that we can get to our current situation. Okay? And as we had discussed, or Madam Registrar had noted, that a lot of people involved in that struggle to decolonize Africa were young people. Sindio? We talk about the Patrice Lumumba Wakongo, right? Who else? Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah. Yes. Wawapi? Ghana. Who else? In Tanganyika? Exactly. Kenya, we talked about the Builder 6. The Mau Mau, Dedan Kimathi, Harry Thuku. These are people that even in the previous presentation have been mentioned, right? And you can see the way they operated. First of all, they were young people. Secondly, not all of them were educated, by the way, right? Just a few of them. For instance, we gave an example of Jomo Kenyatta and his role and the way he was taken to school in Britain, Great Britain, by the Europeans. The same way Patrice Lumumba was also taken to school, right? Yeah. So you can be able to see that kind of education sort of exposed them to some things that they found odd. You know, you live your society where people are not educated, and this is what you think is normal, right? The need for exposure as young people. And it doesn't require you to go outside of this country. We can use our innovation, our technology, our means and access to information to be able to expose ourselves to information and things that are beneficial to our society, right? If our aim is to be meaningful leaders, that's what we are aiming for, right? Yes. Let's have that conversation. Madam. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So when you talk about, I've mentioned the likes of Patrice Lumumba, when you talk about how they started in their political parties or the formations that they had, right? In the political parties and in their countries, in the colonies at that time, as I mentioned, wametoka, wamepelekwa Britain, they've studied, they've come back, they're seeing the way these people are handling us here is not the same way things are happening out there, right? Now, of course, there are already people who are disgruntled. There are people who are not happy with the colonial rule, right? They've come, they've taken their property, they've taken their lands, they are mining their fields, they are taking minerals, oil, and all that, right? They are basically depleting their natural resources. And they don't have a say, right? Because they have an imperialist kind of ideology, right? Or it's a feeling. It's a complex, right? A superiority complex that they've come with because of the color of their skin. So they've come, they want to oppress us. But then he came back and he noticed, well, in their homes, they're living freely. But here we have a problem. So he came, and then him and a few others, they come together and they want to fight. Then Kuruma, similarly, a group of them came together, like the Kapenguria 6 we are talking about. We also had a group of six of them in Ghana. What was Ghana called before? Yes, the Gold Coast was Ghana. So they formed the UGCC, the United Gold Coast Convention, and there were 6 of them, and one of them actually, Edward, became a president later on, right? The same situation we can see in Kenya. Mwai Kibaki, although not at the forefront, he was a young leader who was moving in the political space and governance space, right? And he had a lot of influence, right? And then you can see in their movement or in their growth in politics and governance, then they are able to occupy these spaces, right? Now the disconnect is, how did you come from fighting, agitating for peace, right? Getting the peace, getting the space, and now not getting results? Do we see that, right? And it doesn't add up, right? And that is the question that we would want to ask ourselves. Where is the disconnect between, we are young people here, we feel energized, mnasema tu anguka tu, right? Anguka nayo, right? Nakudade on the streets. But then, after that, then what? What is the end game, right? After all that, munapewa, tumeongea kuhusu the collaborator, even Jomo Kenyatta, he really fought for that space, right? And then now, upon being a president, allegedly, he acquired 6 million acres of land, and so much more, not allegedly. He's your founding father in your party.
I know, but it is not alleged.
It is confirmed, eh?
It is confirmed.
And so much resource from the Kenyan land, right? So how do you come from that and then again now a shift? For instance, when Kanu now took over from the late Moi, he also was really serious about peace, love, and unity. Then how do we move from peace, love, and unity in 1978 to 1982, I think about 10 years before we got multipartism, and there was a period of people whispering, what Madam Registrar talked about after the death, and people talked in whispers, right? Were you born then?
No.
The time when, during Moi's reign, how many of us were there? Just okay, other than this side, that other side, right? And people would talk in whispers, right? But this is a person who loved peace, love, and unity, right? And you would move and say, even I remember myself when I was so young, I was a little baby, and I would say, Nyayo, and then your mother would tell you, shh, keep quiet, you know? You don't say that loudly. Kabla mtu apite kwa mlango, asikie mmesema hiyo, then your family is in problems. So how did we move from that? So African liberation, as I have said, it was an effort of the youth. We believed that this is the Africa for the youths, and the future belongs to the young people. Similarly to South Africa, right? The only problem with South Africa is by the time they got the freedom, all the people who fought for it were old, right? In the 1992, Mandela walikuwa wamezeeka and all those other people. But then where they came from, right, they were young people. So that's a call, yeah? Ni mwito kwa sisi wenyewe individually and collectively to see what we can be able to do to change our society, of course through the right channels, And I think we'll be able to move things. So maybe we move. Let me go back so that we can, what we just talked about, the slow motion. So we've talked about African liberation. We're saying that liberation was won through the efforts of the young people, and we've given examples of Patrice Lumumba, Kwame Nkrumah, the Harithuku, Mau Mau and the other freedom fighters, including Dedan Kimathi, Bildad Kagia, we had Karumba, we had Kubai Ngei, and we had also Kenyatta. Yes, and Acheng and Oneko. We say that not only were the ranks and these protests and all those people agitating for the independence, were they filled by youths, they were also led by youths. Right? So you can see the people at the forefront were young people. The people fighting the actual fights belonged to the young people. We see, for example, there was an organization, the OAU, right? That a couple of African young leaders trying to come together to see how we're going to decolonize our people, our country, our continent. And they tried, and most of the times, and actually not most of the time, the moment Muzungu anasikia tu, umwita Mzungu? The moment anasikia tu, kuna mahali, these young people wanakutana, it was problems, right? In fact, we'll come back to that. So at that time, even Patrice Lumumba, who became a prime minister, even Nkrumah, who became a prime minister, in fact, when you see history, you see they're trying to have this Ntosumkate situation going on, right? Like Patrice Lumumba and Nkrumah, they became prime ministers, but then there were actual presidents in those countries, right? At the same time, such that now one looked like they were the extremists in this fight, and the other one was sort of diplomatic, right? Yeah, and then they used to coalesce so that now it operates in those situations. Of course, I have said that it was not uncommon for prime ministers and young ministers and even presidents back then to be people who are very, very young, in their 30s and thereabout. But then also, I think in 1990 something, in 30 you were kind of old, eh? Right? Right? Yes. No, from your eyes, you know, I have a younger sister your age, and they hear from someone who started, they're like, what? You know, you are 30, what? You know? So that's what I'm trying to get from you. So, Kenyan, the current situation that we're having right now, yeah, the demonstrations, what are we agitating for? Of course, people are uncomfortable with the current cost of living. In fact, that was the whole situation, right? Already tunaumia, then you have the bill that was the matchstick to that fire that was fueling huko chini chini. So that became a problem, and then we saw a group of Gen Zs, what they call the Gen Z revolution, came out and started rioting. The same way these Gen Zs came out, you know, it started very peacefully before it became violent, right? And what I said was, it was sort of a repetition of history. When you look at Akina Nkrumah in Ghana, that UGCC, the protests then were because a group of them were used by the British. Wakaambiwa, go and fight for us. They were the troops. They went to East Africa, they fought in, Madam Registrar talked about the Cold War. There's also the World War I or II, yeah, that was happening at that time. And they fought and they helped the British in that fight, and the British won. So they felt like, if we help these people, then when we come back home, we might get they might allow us to negotiate for our independence. Then you come back home, and that is not happening. So they want to start fighting, right? But they decided, let's not fight, because of course, the factors that Registrar talked about, right? They are armored, they are powerful, you don't have the resources, right? You are just from a war, so you are weak. So instead of us going to fight and becoming violent, let us go the peaceful demonstration way. That's what they did. Unfortunately, the colonial government, the British government, sprayed them with bullets. Is that Mumea experience kitu kama hiyo? Yeah, it's the same situation. They were sprayed with bullets, and now a group, now the UGCC, together with other people, waka riot. It became bad. It became terrible. Sort of a state of emergency situation like what we had in Kenya. And by the way, these things were happening more or less a year or two apart. So this is just happened in Ghana, right? In 1957, right? And then around the same time in Kenya, state of emergency, a few years later, right? Same situation. Then the riots erupted, kukakuwa na vita, such that now it became something else. And the British were very insecure, I would call them, because the moment they see there is an uprising, they would become very defense, or make their guards up, right? They fight everyone, they arrest everyone, they torture anybody and everybody that is even connected to in any way to these people. So at that time, so as I was saying, what is our role? Currently, what we saw in the Gen Z revolution is more or less what happened then, right? It is a movement that was provoked by circumstances, and that is also what had happened in the past, right? That's where we came from. These are movements, and these are groups that were instigated, right, or fueled by the circumstances that they were going through at that time. So what is our role? I wanted us to go to our role just before we close it. It's up here. Technology has failed me. Effects of? Being in between. Yes, I told you we struggle, and clearly you've said it needs to show you how we are doing. We are doing badly, so that I need now this generation and another generation after this to come and help me with this thing.
Now, how many of you follow our social media handles?
Personal.
No, I'm here as well. Only two.
X.
Only two.
X, yeah.
But we want to be leaders, so at least we need to be following the duty bearers, IEBC and all those organizations, ORPP, so that you know what is happening. And that is the only way you'll know when they have organized for youth activities and sensitizations.
So, thank you, Vintage Buddy. We talked about this. So you follow us on Twitter, I think. You see now I'm struggling with these things. It's X. Yes, you follow us on X. So, what do we bring to the table? Now we've talked about our role as youths, or sort of are able to understand our role. Have we, from the short, is it a discussion or have just spoken?
Impactful discussion.
Impactful discussion. So based on that impactful discussion, and Gavon is speaking, yeah, what have we gotten? What is our role now outside society? What is our role in governance and politics and electoral systems, and what is our role as young people? What do we bring to the table? Yes?
So that more people
yes.
can get involved,
yes,
and know what direction
to bring on board ideas. What else?
There is involved.
Oh, okay. Sorry. This side you're quiet, yes?
I can say my role as a youth is, as she said, civic education. Like if I know something, since I'm informed and I have internet, I have the phone,
yes,
I educate my fellow youths.
Yes?
The stress is that youth is a state, and I think Now, currently, when the fire is burning,
Yes.
you're bringing that fire to the table.
The momentum. Okay.
Also, there are creative solutions to the problems that are gaining us. Even pushing hashtags on X.
E.g., for example?
Text finance bill.
What else?
As a youth, you can do a responsibility of leading. Like you empower and inform the youth.
Yes.
And through the civic education and their lead.
Empowered youth can empower other youths.
Yeah, so you can lead.
Gentlemen? Something to say?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
We are the young people. And you understand that without us engaging even our own parents in form of civic education and any other person who is close to us or close to them can bring a good role in the same.
Exactly. Also, being a youth is like a relay race. The way you run, it's a transition. You get to 34, unapea mwenye hapo nyuma yako. Si ndio? Anaendelea hivyo, right? So that we live. So if you're living a generation or you have done so much to our society, right? Our political systems, our electoral systems, through our voice, right? So that it's changed society as a whole. The person who's coming after you is coming to improve that, right? And the other one and the other. So you're building on it, right? And the effects are, of course, massive. Meaning, yes, sorry, I'm not ignoring it.
Being an informed and learned youth,
Yes.
I think Meron is supposed to make a leadership control.
Yes.
Where if they're bringing about things such as budget corruption,
Mhm.
I know that, for example, Baringo is a case currently, the government is constructing a gate worth 34 million. So that's just a unit. So not his gate, is the Gregorian gate. I'm wondering which gate can cost 34 million.
And also we are able to know that kind of information by public participation and give our views, right? So if we're able to know this, first of all, let's not be, for example, rumor mongers. Let's not perpetuate rumors to sequer our watu. But for you to be factual in the information that you have, for you to be able to do civic education, you have to have the information, the facts, right? How do you get the facts? If you attend public participation, musome Kenya Gazette, musome Gazeti, musome, right? Yeah, empower yourself with the information as well, so that when you're telling your mother, let me tell you, this governor did 1, 2, 3. And so this is why we are saying, because your mother sometimes will ask you, unataka kuuliwa, right? Why are you going out there? Why do you, but also you want to also show them, because of this and this is why it's happening. And then you say, ndio maana tuliwekea hii ushuru ingine, so that they are able to also understand, and you remove the misconceptions about maybe a bill or an issue of public interest, right? Yeah, exactly. So adding up to what he's just added. I know our generation or our group, the youths, let's call ourselves, the category of youths, are very innovative, right? So we might want to use innovation as a tool, right? Yes. We also have fresh perspectives. Listening to you is clear, right? Are you okay? Are we okay? Do we? The gentleman. He was praying for me. Thank you, amen. Yeah. So we have fresh perspectives. Am I that boring? Yeah? How do we play Anguka? Yeah, and then we dance. Yeah. Okay. So we have the fresh perspectives. Our contribution clearly, our inputs in this meeting clearly shows that we are bringing something new, something fresh to the table. And that is our power, right? You might not have a say in the political parties, as you said. You might not have you might not feel like you have political goodwill or there's political goodwill. You might feel like, for me to get this, surely I have to do this for the party. So it's like quid pro quo. Do this for me, I do this for you. And you don't want to go that route. So because I have these tools, I have Innovative, I have X, I have Instagram, I have Snapchat, what's new? X tu ndio mpya. TikTok, Threads, yes. So you have all these platforms that you can be able to voice your opinion and your views. I'm being reminded that I'm doing badly on time, but can I ask for 5 minutes? I'm about done, right? Yes. Then we lead initiatives, what we've talked about, right? We find some and we run with it. And so many young people, even the institutions some of you mentioned, they are youth-led, right? So you find that we are really key and keen about the initiatives that are there, issues about climate change. In fact, there's a lady called Anita Soina, I think, that she has a whole movement on green and climate change, and she's gone far and she's spoken on platforms that are unimaginable at her tender age of, she's 21? 22. Or 22, yes. So imagine what we can be able to do in the issues that we have, the policies that we have. We can move a lot, right? We are also a very vibrant group, right? Tumechangamka. Imagine umekula tear gas na uko na nguvu ya kuimba kudade, right? In the streets. Isn't that vibrancy? And not only singing, it is accompanied by serious dancing and speaker. Where did the speakers come from? You are resourceful also, right? We are talking about our attributes that we can use to make change as young people in political spaces, in governance, in electoral systems, right, in our society. Just even if you make a change in your local community, you have done something, right? It starts there. A journey of? Starts with? Exactly. So we talked about the youth-led groups, we talked about the campaigns that we have, the kina hashtags, and all that. And I think I want to leave it at that regarding the youth and our participation. Short session. I hope it was vibrant. Yes, and yeah. Questions?
Salim.
You are good. Yeah. You cannot. Is he your leader?
No. Yes.
Is he your leader? You are leaderless. So he said you don't have questions. Is it A or nay? Questions? A or nay? Nay. We were discussing a short discussion here about proceeding, but we've seen the slides are quite a number. So we will stop there with your permission, Madam Registrar, so that we give the floor back to
Ronnie.
To you and then to Ronnie. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Registrar and team, for taking us through the entire morning session. Registrar has asked for an extra 30 to 40 minutes.
That 7%, the people between the age of 18 and that 5 years are about that 7%. But the people below that 5, including children, are more than, it's actually almost 70%. Meaning, in demographics, the people who are, according to their census, the people, and demographics never change. They go the same. They go increasing. The people who are between the age of that 5 up to 100 plus, those people who are alive after that 5, were about only 11 million are children. Then the voter register, and I think that discussion will happen here. The voter register has only 22 million Kenyans. If every Kenyan who is of age of majority is registered, we shall have around 30 or around that 2 million in the current demographics. So when we talk about registering as a voter, if you want change and you want change and you don't register as a voter, then that change is cosmetic. It cannot be changed. Youth in the last election, we went to every county as an institution, meeting the youth groups. we did over 226 meetings in this country before the election. And one thing I can tell you, majority of the youth, when you asked them whether they are registered as voters, they were not registered. They were saying, tulichelewa, next time to register. Then you see them on top of lorries, campaigning. Huyu ndiye tutachagua. Yeah. Sisi wengine wanasema warembo na nani? Warembo na Ruto, warembo na Raila. Warembo anaitwa aje? Warembo na baba. Yeah. Wakanu walikuwa wakanu fresh. Yeah. Warembo wakanu fresh. But all that go to waste because you are not voters. I have come here to appeal to you, appeal to the young people as young leaders to join the voter register, to be when the voter register open for purposes of registration, you come in and because what now results, if you go to Nakuru, for example, is there anybody here who come from Nakuru? If you go to Nakuru, you are going to find like 6 groups of youth who are selling violence. Their main product, yes, and they negotiate. They are consultants in violence. And they call a politician who is coming up and appear now, we have a product. We are selling. Kama unataka violence, pale mkutano ikihudiwa your opponent, tunaenda tunagoga hawa wote, we scatter the meeting, we are here. Let's negotiate how much you are going to pay us. I see many different groups. For the first time in the last election, I saw violence as a product for sale. I met one of the group, I pretended to be a customer. and they were telling me what to offer. When you want violence where there's a gun, it costs this much. When you want violence and what limit ya majembe, those, if you want to go na chuma, kama unataka violence pale mtu atawawa, it will cost, you know, they are packages. And those are young people. But they don't have a vote. That is being used, and that's then how the youth can contribute to bad governance. That is how now you can contribute to bad governance. But how do you contribute to good governance? By first of all registering as a voter. You start there, and then you mobilize people. In Kenya, the electoral system, we practice a system called first past the post, where candidate with the most votes win in elections.
Excuse me, I have a question. On what you are talking about on register.
Voter register.
Yeah. Recently, Okio Mtata was asking, why should we register as voters when we have identity cards? Why can't we just be voting using identity cards? Instead of going through that process again with registering as voters.
Well, that's a debate, and it can be done, but currently the law stands. You know, you can only change the law to lead to that.
Yeah.
But then there's also another, which amount the same anyway, because for you to register as a voter, you need the you need the ID card, you need the identity card. Yeah, so that can be cost effective. That is a debate that has been there. But what IBC usually say, they are not in charge of that data of how a person is registered as a citizen. Yeah. So how will they be in control of that data? What about if those people who have who do the ID interfere with the data? Yeah, for political reasons. You know, you can take all the people who have done ID. You decide to I'll say I'll block this one. When the data comes, it has no all features because it's not them who have compiled the data. That is the fear. So unless there's a very good integrated system, that once you are registered as a voter, that's what I would recommend if I am to be asked as a electoral expert. In some countries, what they do, you register as a voter, then automatically you join the register. So when you join the register on this side, you cannot come and claim on this side. What the register now is formed differently, but using the same data. For example, what Beatrice was talking about, when you register in a political party, that's the system as you practice. When you register in a political party, your name goes to the political party first. Once the political parties approve you, automatically the name comes to our database. A political party have no access to our database to remove anything. Yeah, but they can joke with their data. And indeed, they come to us when they are not sure about the credibility of their data, because ours cannot be interfered with. Probably we need to create that integrated system. But an ID alone, the database of ID, I think anybody running elections may be uncomfortable, because you don't know what somebody can do with that data. Then it differentiates these people against this other one and all that. Unless we create what we call an integrated system, that when you register an ID like this, that data actually moves to IBC, and also you meet with the National Bureau of Registration. With that, then probably that can help. It's a good idea in terms of cost effectiveness, so that IBC does not go all the way to the police station to register. We need, and then to clean up that data, becomes a problem. So we continue. I was just saying that first past the post is where the candidate who have the most votes win. That's what happens at a parliamentary level, MCA, the 5 posts except the president. For presidency is 50 plus 1. What do we mean by 50 plus 1? 50 plus 1 means what? What is one name? 50%. Explain 50 plus 1. What does 50 plus 1 mean?
50% plus 1 vote.
50% of what?
Of the total registered
voters. At the total what?
Registered.
The total registered voters?
No, total votes cast.
Valid vote. Valid. Very good. Valid vote cast. 50% of the total valid votes cast. Then plus 1. Anything above that, you must be above the mark of 50%. So once you get, that means also you must get 25 counties. At least 24 counties. Yeah, you must win in 24 counties, and you must get 50% plus 1 in those 24 actually, 24 counties. Then that's how then the calculation is done. In 2013, the 50 plus 1 was about 8,000. I was there in the counting hall. It was about very little. Indeed, we almost missed. We almost repeating elections. It was about 18,000. In 2022, 2017, we had about 8,000. It was about 200. I'm saying what was 50 plus 1. It was about 80,000. In this election, I think it was 200,000. Yeah, around 200,000, which marked the 50 plus 1. No, 70,000. It was actually 50. The win was 200,000, but the 50 plus 1 was about 70,000. Yeah, above the plus 50%. So you see the calculation now give the president the impetus to govern a country, because more than half of the country is with him. Yeah, so that's what gives the impetus. But our system is first past the post. The meaning is you run, the two of you, the post is there, ule atapita hiyo post bele. Yeah? That's exactly what it means. First past the post means there's a post there. We are running the two of us. Whoever atapita hiyo post bele becomes the winner. Then we have a proportional representation, the PR. Seats allocated based on the percentage of votes received for the parties. This is what is practiced in South Africa. You saw, if you follow elections, you are going to know that South Africa, the reason why they are forming a coalition between DA and who? ANC and DA. The reason they are forming a coalition is because the votes were not enough to make 50 plus 1 for ANC. So they never got the absolute majority. When you don't get absolute majority, what happens? And you must meet the 50 plus 1 in the votes given to the party. What happens is that you must form coalition so that zitoshe. Mkiwa kwa coalition sasa itakuwa sawa. Of course, they are mixed system, which is a combination of first as a post and PR. And you see what they are talking of PR. The president should have an element of PR and also it's a mixed system. Kenya, one. Of course, Kenya electoral system structure. There's also the issue of independent electoral boundaries commission. In other countries, sometimes government run elections. In India, if you go, they have an electoral commission that has only 3 people, three commissioners, but the system of government run the elections. Come and DC, DO, coming like that all the way. And India has a register of 800 million. When I was there to observe elections 6 years ago, they were 7 point something. So now they could be 8 point something million. Both are registered. Wachani na hii yenu ya 22 million. 800 plus million people in both are registered. Elections in India is done for a whole month. Sasa yetu siku 3 unataka announce zote mnataka kuchoma nchi. In India, elections is done for a whole 1 month. Kitabo consolidation of all those votes coming all the way down, and now results are counted. It takes a whole month, and then you announce the president. And people don't castigate the electoral commission. Wanakubali matokeo ya uchaguzi. Yeah. When I was in India, one minister lost with 3 votes. 3. And he never went to the street and the media to say that kura zangu zime. Yeah. He agreed, indeed he went to castigate his wife and I think his wife and a cousin who actually went to the temple to pray for him instead of going to vote. Yeah, he actually went to the media to say, what kind of support is this? My wife and my daughter and my cousin went to the temple to pray for me instead of going to vote. So should they have voted, he thought they could have won. Lakini hapa, urusi na kurabini. Lazima kirudiwo. Okay, now as I come to conclude, what do you need to do? First of all, when we are raising issues, what issues are you raising? Of course, we talk about political parties, where we must look at distribution of resources. That we must be very careful and to check what does the provision of law says against the distribution of resources, because politics is about distribution of resources. You cannot be a politician and you don't know where resources of this country are. So that calls for you to follow the budgeting process. I'm happy that you, for the first time, you are talking about finance bill. Lakini kuna wale hawajasoma. Hawajasoma, hawajaiona. They don't know what is contained there, but we reject finance bill. So if you want to challenge the status quo, you must have the information and the knowledge about resources of a nation. And you know what is going to the youth, for example, and how is it helping. And secondly, what is going where. The second thing that we must deal with in this country is corruption, which presents present itself in form of bribery, embezzlement of funds, nepotism, discrimination, and sometimes even denial of a service. You go to hospital, you are told there is no medicine. And you shall die there in front of a hospital because there is no oxygen, there is no medicine. So it will amount to denial of service. That is what you really must raise as a people who are organizing to know what needs to be done. Of course, there are agencies, anti-corruption agencies, big framework and public awareness campaigns that are usually there. But then, we must, as Kenyans, also try to check what is being done by them, what can be reported to these agencies and what is being done. Of course, we talk about encouraging the youth on civic and political education. We have creating platform, establishing youth councils and forum for dialogue. What are you doing within the political party? And that is what I want a bit to talk about. You see, when you are youth, you don't have money. And it is true, if you have money and you are youth, either you have inherited or you have stolen. Did you? Whether you have money and they cannot be explained, as well the forex trading. Yeah, jackpot. Content creation. But it will give you money to sustain you. Not so much money that you start driving different vehicles.
TikTok has a lot of money.
Not sustainable.
Those are beers. Those are
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable.
No, is it true? Then
It's not sustainable. Not sustainable.
Now, those people who benefit from TikTok, for example, how much money can you get from TikTok? A month. No, say what is a lot for you? What is that?
TikTok is a medium.
Money can never be a lot.
Yeah. But a lot, by the way, maybe the person who is being paid the highest could be 2 million. Just a guess.
Yes.
Ikienda sana ni 2 million. But we want to say that you have 7 floods in Malaysia. Using these 2 million, you have another one in Mombasa, you have another one, we have 7 different vehicles, and then Kumaiba. When we come to a political party, that's where I am. You may not have money, but you have the knowledge, you have the energy, and you have the ability. It's how you anchor yourself within a political party that matters how the political party takes you seriously. Like now, if I'm a youth in a political party, and I've helped the youth do that, and I'll give you examples. I'll give you an example of people who have passed through the system, who are now big in they're actually in parliament and all that, and they started as young people in political parties. One, the great North, member of parliament, which is one of them. Once, before even the leader of the party arrives, he hears there's a meeting and that somebody needs to go and speak. He prepares notes for them. I think our party should say this. These are the issues the party should say. You spend a bit of your time organizing your thought for your party leader or your party secretary general. Finally, they will know that you are resourceful, and finally you find yourself somewhere. Ukienda hapo kuna mtu anataka mkutano anataka kupangwa vitu. Don't go stay there as a guest. It's a party activity, join, panga viti, saidia kuwasha in watu, saidia kufanya all things that need to be done, because we are one person who is in parliament who are not going to mention. Riches has allowed me to be mentioned in her. Decided to be an usher in the party's event. Every time the party is come here, even the party leader, stay here. Yeah, this is your seat. This is how I do this. And it's a gentleman. I'm not talking about that is a different person. It's a gentleman. Wanaume waseme I'm only talking about that. He became an usher. Finally, the party leader had to ask, who is that young man? With at every event I go, I fight him. Yeah. So what does he do? He just now start asking about your point. The next thing you hear, you are the next person who have been put in a donation. And from there you grow your career. As what I told you, never let an opportunity pass. Yeah. Promoting frontierism and community service, go on. Then, of course, we talked about leveraging of technology, addressing the root cause of recent protests, including demand for electoral reform, transparency, accountability, promoting peace and constructive dialogue between government and the citizens. This is my last point. Number one, you cannot go and continue agitating without understanding the process. Number one, you must invest in understanding how does a government run. So that when you are agitating from the point of information. Reforms do not come at the touch of a button. Some of them requires legal process. You have to change the law. Laws must be changed. Number two, others requires infrastructure change. The whole infrastructure takes time. So that when you are demanding for reforms, for example, for electoral reform, it actually means that the electoral reforms, you look at the infrastructure of the commission, you come to the laws that govern elections, you look at the electoral system itself, you look at the parliament itself, all that must be put together. Have you invested in knowledge? The final point, the language you use, and I will repeat that. The language you use during your agitation will matter whether you are going to be taken seriously or not. Don't use a language that's not so appealing to the older people. Because they are the ones who are holding government. Hakuna mtu atatembea awambie sikeni serikali nimetembea. Hakuna mtu atafanya hivyo. So you must use the persuasive and language with people. It is a no-go zone to abuse the president. You are abusing head of state, you are abusing your own country because the office of the president is established through the constitution. You may not like the person sitting in there, but the office must be respected. And that is one thing the youth must get correct. Respect the institution, respect the person by the virtue that is the one sitting there. So there are certain words you cannot say because the person who is sitting there actually deserve respect, because by respecting him, you are respecting your own nation. And with respect, he's going to listen to you more than he can. When he hear only Matusi. Matusi sasa, you just want to manage you. Mtoke kwa barabara Matusi. But constructive dialogue means that you are using the correct channels, the correct language. And that's why to me, and this is my personal belief, you cannot go for in perpetuity without leadership. At some point, there should be a leader and some leaders who are engaging, and then you check them and see what is happening. So it's very important that you invest in knowledge and you know exactly what you are asking for and you are able to write it. Don't be like those ones. We have not read it, we have not seen it, but we reject financing. We want this change, and then you have not known how the change happened. And then when you are demanding, also realize that we are all in this country, all in this country together. What will happen if we don't have a government? Anarchy. So the process of change must be in consideration that we want the continuity of a country. We don't want to create anarchy. So the issue of wanting to remove the president through the back door then does not count. Because the minute you do that, you are perpetuating anarchy. And you can actually get examples from other countries. The Sudan, the Somali here, if those who are older enough know that Somali, some 25 years ago, they said Said Barre was the problem. They actually went to the street. Wakamtoa through hiyo maandamano tu wakasema no, Somali has never been the same again. Up to date, they have never been able to hold credible elections. Huyu anakuja anakuwa overthrown, huyu anakuja anakuwa overthrown. The same case happened to Uganda. You remember before Museveni came in, there used to be that. The Sudan, that currently does not have a government, also went through the same thing. they overthrew our government, they thought they would hold elections or another. They have been caretaker committee for, right now there is none even. It's anarchy, it is chaos, it affects everybody. So the reform must be structured, must be well thought out, and for the common good. That's another talking to the Gen Zs, because I'm one of your mothers. Thank you very much, and I think we want to stop there. Which I doubt whether there is. I'll take 3 questions only, Rona.
Okay, I would like for you to answer the question about the privacy of the authorities.
Yeah. Oh, the issue of citizen, the privacy. Yeah. And that's a good question.
Yeah, okay. Currently there are 90 registered political parties. Moving forward, are there any plans by the ORPP to regulate the number? Because I know that independent, if you do not regulate, the extremists. So moving forward, do you think you can regulate the number to a maximum number?
Okay, any other? So that I answer them together?
What is the process and establishment and registration of a political party?
The process of establishment?
The process for establishment and registration of a political party.
Okay. Those are enough. Yeah, the first question is about the data protection. One, there's the data protection law that came into place 2019. The 2018, I think, Data Protection Act. Every institution is required to follow that Data Protection Act. How do we protect ourselves? Number one, we encourage self-registration. When you self-register yourself, we close anywhere that a party can push data from. The system does not allow a party to push data from any other source apart from either self-registration or physical registration with forms and consent forms that are verified by registrar before the data is pushed. So unless we see a consent form and you have a copy of ID which you have given to the political party, we cannot accept data that has not been processed. We process manually sometimes because the law requires also to cater for those people who are not technologically enabled. But we must ascertain that you have all the things. You cannot push data from any other source apart from self-registration or documents that have been verified. When you are registered into a political party, once you are approved, the message will come to you asking you, have you registered in this political party? Do you want to confirm or decline? When you confirm it, you have done that through your own phone. That is one. Two, the other question, see, that is answered.
No, I'm talking about e-citizen platform.
Or the e-citizen. The e-citizen platform, just like any other government institution, when you register using the e-citizen platform, you have your password. It is you who have, unless you give out your password or your password is very weak, nobody can access your data because it's your password. When you give your credential to another person, he can access. Yeah. But the system, when you push the data to ourselves, our system is safe. e-citizen is a government platform. Just like if you give somebody your credential, he can even change your logbook, through the e-citizen. So it's upon you also to protect data or your own personal data.